Did you get my message, Chris?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to episode 42 of Climbing the Ladder. I'm your host, ChanmanV, and co-hosting with me as always is Mr. John Clark. What's up, John?
Not much. Sick as a dog.
Sick as a dog. Oh man,
Mm-hmm.
That's never good.
No,
Well,
I'll try not to get too close.
Thankfully, we're not in studio like a lot of the shows nowadays are, right?
Right.
But we have the pleasure of having Mr. John Bain, aka Totalbiscuit, caster, content producer, and the Cynical Brit on the show today. What's up, John?
Tired as a dog. I don't know how tired dogs usually are, but I haven't slept much, let's just put it that way.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit about that. So,
Oh, God. Oh, man. So, yeah, today was the infamous interview. It was the final hurdle in a 5-year battle to essentially be allowed to live with my family in the US, and it was surprisingly easy, but of course my mind hyped it up to be way more than it was hours and hours beforehand. So it's like, you want to sleep, bro? No, you better not do that because you might be tired when you go into the interview, is the logic that my brain puts through. So I was sitting there just trying to sleep, and everything was flying through my head, like every single question and every stat that I read on immigration interviews and everything like that over the past few weeks. I quite literally read about 400 potential questions that I could be asked, and I asked myself, can I answer all of these? And the answer is, I don't know the name of her perfume, but I think everything else is good.
I mean,
So
it's
What sort of questions?
I mean, like if you have
what
nothing
sort
to
of
hide, I just can't see how it's so crazy. You know, like
shall I
you
pull
have
up
to
some
study
examples
for
for you? I can do that.
Yeah.
That's-
Yeah.
Card interview questions. Yeah, because there's
boy.
all sorts of them. They're all designed essentially to try and determine whether or not your marriage is legit or a sham, right? So they break out some
right.
pretty interesting stuff, such as what kind of cake did you serve at your wedding? That was one of them. What day is your garbage picked up? Let's see, what else is there? Who walks the pet? That would have been a really awkward question if they'd answered that. It's like, well, the chinchillas don't really like the whole leash thing, but hey.
right.
You know, what's our kid's favorite toy? Does the kid still use a booster seat for the car? Do you subscribe to a DVD rental service? All this kind of stuff. Like
Okay.
even like down to which side of the bed do you generally sleep on, and what color are your spouse's pajamas? You know, this is and what they'll do is they'll break these out if they have to separate the two of you. And they interview you both, ask them both the same questions, and then compare notes to see if there's too many inconsistencies.
It's like
So-
the Newlywed Game.
But
Holy
did they
smokes.
give you the questions ahead of time anyway?
Nope. No, this
No.
is all
No,
pulled
of
off
course
of
not.
legal sites. Like
Yeah.
these
Okay.
are all possible questions. You may be asked none of these. So
Sounds like you would have been better just like breaking through the fence and crossing the border that way.
apparently it would have been, but thankfully what happened was we would go in there at the appointment was at 7:15, so we're up at like before 6 to get prepared to get there on time, make sure we don't screw it up. We wait in the waiting room for about an hour, and we get called in by this guy. He's pretty friendly. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, what's he planning? What's on his mind? It's like, this is going to be one giant mind, f- isn't it? So, thankfully, we get in there. He asks us a bunch of questions together, just like really basic stuff, just confirming stuff that's on the paper. It's like, this is still your address, right? You know, you were hired by these guys. Basically, the reason I was here was I was on a visa from IPL to do the IPL events. So that's why I was allowed in the country to begin with. So it's like, your visa is under these guys, blah, blah, blah. And we ended up chatting about PC gaming, if you can believe it. It just, because we talked about video games, like, oh yeah, I play a few first-person shooters, but I can't handle those controls on the console. And then we get onto this whole glorious PC gaming master race thing for a good 5 minutes. And then it's like...
You just
okay, I'm
softened
just
them
gonna-
up right there.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, I'm going to go approve this. I'm like, oh, it was that easy? It was literally 15 minutes, and 5 of it was talking about PC FPS. So... yeah, and it's like, I'm just going to approve this now. This is all totally above board. You should receive your green card in a week. Have a great day. Done. Like, that was it.
All that
was the culmination of 5 years. I expected to literally
gosh.
have to throw the Ring of Power into Mount Doom, but apparently not.
So so for those of you, I don't know if there's like maybe one or two of you guys watching that don't even, that don't know the whole story with John, he's gone through a crazy ordeal these last 5 years, spending, 2 years almost away from Jenna and your son, like not even seeing them for the longest periods of time.
Actually.
Yeah. So why did it take so long, like, to actually get to this point?
I can give you the cliff notes. So
Yeah.
it goes like this, yeah. Meet Jenna at BlizzCon 2005. We kind of get to know each other over a couple of years. I decided to come over sort of on a trial basis in 2007 to see, whether or not it'll all work out. It does work out. We decided to get married. In the UK. And we got some bad advice from a paralegal that said, well, yeah, you can do this and this. And we did that and that. And apparently it wasn't the right way to go. And I was entering under visa waivers. I wasn't working or violating the kind of rules of the visa, but the problem with that visa is that it's kind of not a visa and you don't have an appeals process attached to it. So if they can arbitrarily decide at any point, we don't want to let you in this time, and they didn't. I was checking with USCIS and everything to make sure when I went back. It's like, is this going to be okay? I'm really worried that this is like not the right kind of way to do things. And they, when I went in for BlizzCon 2008, at LAX, they decided, no, we're not letting you in. They detained me, chucked me in a cell in downtown LA, and then threw me back on the next plane back there. And that we immediately started the K3 process, which is like the spousal visa. At the time, that was like a 1.5 year wait time. It was backed up to all hell. So we started that, but it failed because your spouse has got to be over a certain level of income. And this whole nonsense with the flights and everything, she got really ill very quickly and really depressed, and she lost her job, so she suddenly didn't have any income. So I was like, right, I am stuck in the UK. I was essentially working at a financial advisory and doing stuff like that just to make ends meet, and I was sending a lot of money over there. I was just keeping the bare minimum I needed to kind of stay afloat, and we were like, well, we're stuck now, because she doesn't have the income to file for a visa. And I can't file for a visa based on my income, and it's not even high enough anyway. So I was just stuck for like a couple of years just kind of working paycheck to paycheck to make sure that they had a roof over their heads. And we were trying to figure out how do we make this work. And then eventually, as luck would have it, Husky asked me, do you want to join this network called the Game Station? This was shortly after basically my YouTube channel had exploded after I did Cataclysm video content. I joined that, and then suddenly, oh look, money, and then and then I ended up getting
lots of money.
Yeah, I hired Wolfsdorf, who are a really good legal team over. I think they're in Santa Monica. That's where they're based. They did a really good job, and IPL offered me a visa to come over to cast their events at IPL 5. It was supposed to be for IPL 4, but it got there 2 days late, if you can believe that. 2 days late. God. So that was frustrating. And I came over on that visa, and we worked a few things out, because obviously, we haven't seen each other in 3 years, right? So we need to figure out if is this still even a marriage? So we had to figure that out. And eventually we figured out, yeah, we can still make this work. There's a lot of things we need to work through, but we can still make it work. And the visa I was on is classified as a dual intent, because it's an O1B. It's actually for actors for the most part and TV personalities, but the lawyers, being awesome, managed to basically convince the US government that esports commentary is completely valid for that. And I'd actually, a couple of guys wrote me referrals, big thanks to the guys. Sir Scoots actually wrote me a referral letter, so big thanks to him for that. He basically is part of the supporting evidence. The guys over at IGN wrote me referral letters. I think one of the MLG guys did, and yeah, so they all helped me out with that. And
that's a really good visa too. I've heard of that one.
Yeah, the O1B is pretty potent. It's really, it really gives you a lot, because that's the kind of person that they want in the country. So they generally won't throw up any barriers to you being there. So that's always nice. And yeah, and it all kind of led to the green card. We worked through it with the lawyer, and the IPL guys were really supportive. They even extended the visa 6 months longer than it would have been otherwise to make sure that we didn't run into any problems. So huge thanks to them. They spent actually a great deal of money to do that. So I'm pretty indebted to them for that. But David Ting's been an absolute lifesaver. He really is. He is a stand-up guy, and he's absolutely fantastic. And he never asked for anything in return. So.
Yeah, this story, again, it's a lot of folks already know the story, but, having it come to today, I feel like is such, it's such a beautiful, it's such a beautiful ending to this, very hard, very, just very long and challenging and heartfelt kind of journey you've had, with Jen and your family and everything. So, having the success story you guys have, and you're continuing it on, with everything you're doing now with your platform and with, now your new team, Axiom. As a fan, as a, admirer of you, supporter of you, I just feel really, really happy for you. And I think a lot of other folks watching too do also. So congrats to you too, John.
Yep. That's much appreciated. We got out of the place this morning and felt like a huge weight be lifted off my shoulders.
Right.
Went for some breakfast, bought some chinchilla food, because why the hell not? It's like we'll celebrate by buying the most expensive food chinchillas can get that won't kill them. So I'll take it. But yeah, so it's like, I can do the rest of my life now. Where do I want to live? Not in Charlotte. So I'm just figuring out where to buy a house now. We're thinking we might move out to either Arizona because property prices.
Arizona, really?
Yeah, man, Arizona property prices. I've got a green card, so they can't throw me out. Also, I'm not Mexican. I guess that helps. So but and also like West Coast, maybe San Diego, somewhere like that.
Right. Move to a bankrupt state. That's cool. That's
fine. I'm not bankrupt. I'll be okay. They'll love to take my taxes, I'm sure.
Have you been to Texas?
I have, actually. I quite like Texas. I liked Austin. I very much liked Austin.
Dude,
That's
Austin.
great barbecue. I was literally able to purchase a beef rib, which basically came out directly out of the Flintstones. I could have clubbed someone to death with this thing. That's how good the barbecue was there.
You should have hung out with us, John. Man, I'm just gonna call you TB the rest of the show. I've been taking
It would help.
I was taking John Clark everywhere during Lone Star Clash, but didn't get a chance to hang out with you guys that much. Though.
How did you not run into us? We were there for
I ran into you, but you guys were, dude. You guys were like,
you were so busy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't. I came in like on Thursday or Friday, but you guys were just all, hiding upstairs the whole time. So like, I never got a chance to really hang out with you guys.
Yeah, I mean, that was just one of those times when we decided, what would be good? Let's spend a week in the pro gaming house of Tespa just to see what happens. Like, that turned out to not be a great idea.
Yeah.
So we left Crank there and actually went to stay with a friend of mine who goes by the name of Angry Joe, and he is exactly what he says on the tin. There's no false advertising involved there. But yeah, we stayed with him for a couple of nights, and
cool.
It just involved driving around at 2 a.m, desperately looking to buy all the Star Trek hero clicks.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
I don't even know what happened there. I don't know why it happened, but it did, and I don't regret it.
Collector's items, man. Collectors.
Damn right.
Exactly. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some news.
Yeah.
We're going to spend a little bit of time here. So originally we are going to have Red Eye back on the show, because he's over in Brazil right now for IEM São Paulo, but he doesn't have a mic. Believe it or not, with all those IEM production people there, they do not have a mic. So we just tried out his laptop mic, and it's like an airport.
He's in a wind
runway.
tunnel.
Yeah, he's in a wind
Basically.
tunnel. Exactly.
There is no way in a million years that would work.
Yeah. So if by chance he does find a mic, he'll hop on, and unfortunately there were some ESL announcements he was going to make too.
Whoops.
But so we'll wait for that. If not, we'll have him just. I don't know. We'll be his proxy, and we'll just kind of relay
exactly.
him.
He's just going to have to wait to announce his $150,000 My Little Pony Fighting His Magic tournament. But
My Little Pony.
My daughter would win that, I think.
Exactly. All right, so let's start with just quick news, which is just kind of spend about 10 minutes here on news. I want to start with HOTS, Heart of the Swarm. TB, have you gotten a chance to play any of Heart of the Swarm recently?
yeah, I dip into it every now and again. I haven't tried out the new replay functionality, but it's incredibly exciting and also really stressful because we suddenly think, oh God, we've got to figure out the best way to utilize this for our team so that our team doesn't fall horribly behind everybody else. So I spent a day sweating over like the best way to sort this stuff out. It's crazy.
You know what you just,
I could talk to you
what you
offline
just did
too.
though?
Yeah.
You just said something that every team should already be thinking about. And I bet
It better
that
be.
most of them haven't even started thinking about that.
Actually, I really
funny
hope
because
they don't. Just
Chris
make it easy
brought
for us.
all this up about the replay stuff a while back, and you can ask him, but you're pretty excited about the replay stuff, aren't you, Chris?
Dude, I've been talking about this type of thing since I think January or February of last year, and I was just hoping that they could come out with a feature like that. They finally announced it, Heart Swarm, and I was going crazy, and I felt like I was the only person in the world going crazy. And then, I was trying to convince other teams that, like, in the meantime, as kind of a bridge between, Heart of the Swarm releasing and then, you should get with the map community and have those guys, pay them a little bit. They'd be excited to work with the teams and have them just make custom maps of certain scenarios, like wherever you end it. And just kind of train that way. But, this is obviously the best thing that could possibly happen. And yeah, man, if I got ideas, TB, if you want to, I could tell you offline. But, this is going to have the most impact on player performance or player skill level that ever
utilize it.
Like,
yes.
Ever.
Yeah. John's absolutely right on that. They've got to utilize it properly. I believe it was mentioned on State of the Game. Artosis was talking about this, and I definitely agree with pretty much everything he said on the matter, is that sensible teams will be having their aces in certain matchups create scenario maps, which is essentially the perfect PvZ mid-game, or the perfect Sky Terran end game. Let's just... what about the match today between Beyond and Ryung? That ended up going to late game Sky Terran, which is not a scenario that is generally easy to practice because it's usually happening at like the 45, 50-minute mark, and you often get there because it ends up being a gigantic tank stalemate, and then someone tries to get air superiority, tech to BCs, get more Vikings than the other guy, and then essentially roll over that way.
Yep.
You can create the perfect engagement, and then you can jump in from either side. You can do the Immortal Sentry all-in, execute it perfectly, and then try and defend it, and so on and so forth. And this is just going to save so much time. You essentially could increase the efficiency of your practice by upwards of 500% because you get rid of all of the other nonsense that you don't need to practice before that. You're practicing literally one thing. If you've got to fight Parting, and you happen to be Zerg, and there's going to be Ohana involved in this, then someone creates the perfect Immortal Sentry, and you defend it literally 200 times in the time it would have taken you to do it, like, what? I would say maybe 30, 40 times in just playing games over and over again. And even then, you don't necessarily get the perfect one every time, right?
Yep.
So,
right.
it's genius, potentially.
Yeah, I think like the Parting example is a really, really good example, but I think... the late games is definitely the biggest thing because I think most players, at least, I'm talking from the foreign side of things. Not the Koreans, even the practice house, even though it hasn't been efficient, I feel like they've been able to create those scenarios decently. With their practice teams and with the ace teams, but I feel like the foreigners just. The only practice they get is whatever happens in tournaments or on ladder, and those scenarios are never the same every time. So it's a little bit of winging it every time they get to a super late game. And some of the phenomenal players that understand the game, they're able to do it. But this it's going to be huge. I feel like for foreigners and for Koreans too. The Korean players will refine everything that they've. Oh yeah. That they have. Everybody will refine it, but I think it'll be a bigger step for the foreigners that just haven't had the proper structure. So this tool kind of adds a little bit of structure to their practice.
Yeah, potentially it does. And it is a chance for foreigners to get back on the level of Koreans, but it's also a chance for Koreans to just like steam ahead so incredibly quickly.
Yeah,
because the Kesper coaches are all over that.
Yeah, totally.
They're already making plans. These teams are going to be building replay libraries, and these replays are going to be the most valuable thing in the world because they're going to be setting up an entire set of replays for every possible scenario executed perfectly so you can practice defending against it and you can do it so fast. As I said, defend like 100 Immortal
It's all
Sentry
going to come down to who utilizes it, though. That's definitely the key. So we can't... It's going to get old if we start hearing people say, well, I can't do it. I can't improve. Well, are you actually putting the time into it, and are you utilizing the replay stuff? It's a pretty awesome thing.
Yeah, the beauty of having like a stock, archive of all these scenarios too is that, even for the community, we can create a stock archive for everybody in the community too. It doesn't have to be just these pro teams, So hopefully there are a lot of folks that are thinking about that too, just amongst all of us, just for even just for the casual players too, if they want to practice a certain scenario. It's going to be so great because it's going to eliminate a lot of the whole. A lot of the gap between execution, that a lot of the players have, and it's going to turn into more of a strategic game, believe it or not. Like that's the one thing that's been lacking in StarCraft 2 esports lately is that the people that execute the best are the people that win. The people are at the top of the mountain right now, and I think that it's gonna close that gap when it comes to people that are a little bit more gifted from a strategic standpoint. That's gonna be able to shine a little bit more after they get their execution kind of caught up with everybody else. So it's gonna be really cool.
It's going to be a faster metagame shift as well.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get
metagame is going to be going so fast.
Yeah,
because as soon as something gets particularly potent, replays get made of it, and then people practice 1,000 times against it. Suddenly, it's not so. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how balance ends up working in Heart of the Swarm as a result, because I feel that there were parts of and changes that were made to Wings of Liberty that were a little bit too quick and they were a little bit too reactionary to the metagame at the time, and weren't necessarily in the best interests of the game. And I think that when you have this situation where people can very readily work against these kind of strategies and can do so 10 times faster and 10 times more efficient than they were able to in Wings, then we're going to see a lot more metagame shifts within the actual pro player base itself, as opposed to knee-jerk balance reaction changes from Blizzard.
Right. Yeah, even from a content producer, it's great. I'm like Pro Corner and stuff I do when it comes to learning and stuff. Oh my gosh! I mean,
kidding me?
You're gonna be seeing some of that stuff soon. So it's just an amazing feature, and Heart of the Swarm in general. Like I've been playing it too, and it's been so fun. Believe it or not, losing, because I feel like I'm losing in so many different ways right now.
Yeah, not the same bloody thing over and over again.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's actually great, and I'm really happy playing Terran currently in HOTS, because even though they haven't actually added a huge amount of units or whatever, they've changed roles around, they've given extra abilities to stuff that we already had, and it feels so much better. I think if anyone's getting shafted this time around, it's probably Zerg. Honestly.
Oh, definitely. Zerg I feel like has had the least amount of change. The early Burrow and the Viper abilities have been really cool, but it hasn't really changed.
Still trying to find its role, right?
Yeah, I haven't found a good role for it.
There's certain kind of mid-game timing you can do with a Swarm host that seems to be really effective, and then the whole bloody thing falls apart. It's like they're lumbering horrible monsters that are very easily torn to pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Man, 2 Rax Reaper. Oh, bane of my existence right now. I hate that.
Yeah.
Hate it so much, but... All right, let's move on from HOTS. So I think the next thing I have on here is just the EG... EG LoL team picking up, what used to be CLG EU, right? And our friend JP is going to be.
Didn't we hear about that 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, that was probably yeah.
From official sources, right?
Exactly, right. Official sources, right. Well, we finally saw the video, and kind of want to start off with just the video. What are your thoughts on the announcement video?
I quite literally burst out laughing. Just want to say.
I actually thought it was kind of cool, but. I only got to see it once, but I thought the background, the setup was the stage area or whatever, however they set it up. I thought it was pretty neat. I'm not sure it went with the whole idea of it, but
yeah, I think the giant virtual fireplace in the background may have been just a little bit too much. It sounded like the setup for a parody video, and I don't mind serious videos, announcements, and things like that. It's just that went a little too far. To the point where I kind of laughed at it a little bit. I felt bad for laughing because obviously there was so much effort put into it.
Oh, definitely. It was a high-quality video.
But again, maybe that was part of it, though, too. Because people are saying, it was awkward and cheesy, but it was cool at the same time. And here we are talking
Jeff's
about
telling me it's a real fireplace, by the way. So I'm like,
it was a real one. I think they shot it in Vegas. I think they shot it in Vegas. So there was definitely a fireplace there, but... Well, it was a unique way of announcing it. That's for sure, right? I mean, the instant you saw Snoop, you knew what it was. So
do you think more people tuned in to watch that since it was leaked earlier, or what?
No,
I wouldn't say more people did, but it's one way or the other. It was still effective. It did what they wanted, right? I mean, you could say whatever you want about the video and whether or not you actually liked it. Personally, I wasn't really into it. I very much preferred the EG Curse video. The Stefano announcement was totally more my thing, but it still delivered the message, and it was still a sort of high quality, classy production. So it's hard to really argue with it, right? They did it really well,
right?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people would agree with that. I mean, I think that it's funny because I think when people first watched it, I think the reaction was really cool, and then obviously people just like to poke
dissecting
at it after a while,
Yeah,
right?
of course,
and they
yeah.
figure out a way.
But
It
again,
doesn't
it
help that
served
I
its-
knew most
like
of the
you
people
said,
there.
it served its purpose.
yeah.
Definitely.
Whether they liked it or not, people were watching it and talking about it, and that's
Yep.
exactly why EG is where they're at, and other teams are struggle.
Yeah, it's why they're so far behind on the PR front. They really are. EG gets it, and there are so few other teams that really do. And EG gets it in a all-encompassing way, right? It's not just a case of saying, well, oh, we got a lot of money, we can put on some nice productions, and we do streams. It's like they even get it on the controversy standpoint. They're always relevant. Always.
Yep.
Name another team that's always relevant like that. I mean, Team Liquid only because they happen to have TeamLiquid.com, right? TeamLiquid.net. They stay relevant as a direct result. But EG, they're the guys to look up to when it comes to that stuff, and people really need to learn from them.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
they
so
do.
will we see an Axiom video like that?
I need to find a bigger fireplace.
You got to
What if we
outdo
did an
them,
actual fire? Like just a giant.
Just
burning
green screen it,
bonfire.
man. Just green screen it.
like a bonfire.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a giant bonfire. We could burn copies of,
oh man.
burn copies of Quake 3 or something. Get people really upset.
Oh,
No, don't do that.
that's cool.
I'm
That's
pretty
cool.
sure that's toxic. We should be careful with that. That will give you cancer. Don't do that, guys.
Exactly.
But yeah, in front of the Burning Man, that's actually a great suggestion from the chat. Yeah, that's not quite our style, but we'll definitely do something like that.
Yeah, I actually felt bad for Suppy and Puma because I know they were there and they didn't get into the video. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean, it was a huge fireplace. They
That
could have fit it in
sucks.
front, you know?
That sucks for them. But all right, so next bit of the news. Okay, we had a bunch of IAM stuff there, but anything else? Definitely want to talk about the Team House kind of discussion that was going on Twitter, but we'll get there when we talk about y'all's Team House.
Yeah.
But let's see. Okay, we kind of skipped around here. Well, okay, why don't we just jump into Axiom? Axiom eSports. And originally I was going to have Jenna on here, talk a lot about Axiom, but obviously y'all's day was really, really long, so appreciate you
she's
subbing.
pretty damn tired.
Yeah, I appreciate you subbing in for her. And the main reason I want to have her on is because last time she was on, you guys had just started. I think you guys had just announced Crank as y'all's first player, and really just getting the lay of the land, really just learning, what it means to be a team owner and running a team. And I thought it'd be really cool to have you guys on, 4 or 5 months later, and kind of see where you are with it, see what your thoughts are now. Is it much harder? Is it kind of what you expected? And that those sort of questions. So let me start off by talking about the player roster. And I think last time I talked to Jenna, the direction you guys were going, you were going to scale pretty slow. Just kind of pick up a player, just slowly, probably have 3 by the end of the year, and then just kind of go from there. You guys are up to 5 now, with Crank, Ryung, Alicia, Maya, and Hart now. Hart being the most recent one. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that. Talk to me the decision to get up to 5, and what number are you kind of working towards, at least in the short term?
Yeah, well, I mean, the timing of the players was kind of to plan. I think maybe the last 2 were a little earlier than we would have necessarily expected, but
Great. Okay. Should be... Is it still gone? Try refreshing. Great. It's still going. I don't see any drops actually with it. Frames are still being encoded, so it might have just been a blip. Okay, it's just a blip. Okay, so the players GSTL. What? Oh, God. I don't know. Let me see.
on the stream?
I don't think so.
Can anyone else hear? I mean, can they hear everyone else? Because it's really weird to have just one person.
No, they can't hear you.
They can hear now. Well, somebody says, there we go.
Okay, there it goes.
All right, looks like it's cut back in. Okay, great. Let's go back and try for the third
what is
time,
going on? Jesus, okay.
Yeah. Oh, Twitch has been freaking out over the last few days. It's not surprising. Anyway, so yes, the plan was to go to 3 players by the end of 2012 because we believe that was sustainable based on our current financial situation.
Okay.
We wanted to, our end goal 6. We've always said that it's been 6. And we were going to sort of work towards that over the course of a number of months. Now, the guys really expressed an interest in being involved in GSTL and IPTL. In the words of Crank, essentially, he believes that team leagues are the core and the heart of StarCraft. And it's not surprising considering he was a B-teamer in STX and SKT1 back in Brood War, and Ryung was too. So they were all involved in all of that stuff. So it's understandable that they would think, the Team League is the purest format. It's very much a Korean format, and it's the kind of thing that they really wanted to be involved in. They think they could actually play to their strengths. So we thought, right, can we make this work? So we looked at our financial situation, and we thought, this is a hell of a lot better than we thought it was. We had numerous pieces of income come in from different sources. Essentially, the team for the entirety of the year, with a lot of its financing, was financed by the sale of 1 T-shirt.
And I'm going to get to that, too.
And a number of and basically a lot of revenue that I was owed from podcast VODs, which I built up over the course of like 8 or 9 months. And I essentially got that all at once. Yeah. So like putting all of that together, it literally was a windfall. We were planning on the money coming in, but it ended up being a lot more than we thought. So we're thinking, we actually can afford this before we go into getting more sponsors. So let's look at the lay of the land and find out what's going on. And Hart already wanted to join the team, and it was like there was a sort of an informal arrangement that he would have, he was going to join once his contract was up with Complexity.
Oh, really?
So I mean, he was already living in the house with the guys anyway, so he really wanted to be part of that team. Naturally, I mean, why wouldn't he? He already lives with them, so
he's good friends with them, and of course,
definitely.
Right.
So it made sense. Yeah, and obviously we wanted to wait until his contract was up with Complexity because the only thing we poach here at Axiom is our eggs. So what ended up happening is that Hart asked Jason Bass whether he could be let go a couple of weeks early from his contract because he said, I'm not going to re-sign with Complexity. It's been a good run. I have literally no bad things to say about Complexity, but I want to join Axiom because I'm living with them. They're my friends, and it just makes more sense for me. So that was going to be all arranged, and we kind of had that planned in advance. And it ended up just being a little bit earlier than we thought. And then we spoke to Alicia, and Alicia had come up in conversation a lot as kind of an idea for second Protoss. We'd shopped around, and we looked at them. We very much consult all of our players prior to hiring anybody, because the way that the house works, it's got to kind of be driven purely on passion, because we don't have a coach, we don't have a set training schedule, we let the guys set their own schedules. So we've got to have a very specific group of people that work well together. Otherwise, that will just flat out fall to pieces.
Will that change? Will that change some of that? That you were saying that they kind of just set their own schedule and everything. I mean, do you have plans to kind of structure that more once you get things settled?
Do you have a coach there or a manager there?
No, we don't. Essentially, Crank does all of that stuff, which is kind of what he was doing in the Slayer's house anyway. He was very much kind of an assistant coach role and a player manager unofficially. So he actually has a really massive amount of experience. In Ryung's round of 4 placement last season, he was living in the old house. And I'm not talking about the Slayer's house either. Basically, MMA's apartment. They moved out of the Slayer's house before that season even began. Yeah. So all of Ryung's training and everything like that was done with MMA and with Crank helping him. And also, eventually towards the end with Mia helping him as well when we brought him into the house. So that performance wasn't done with a coach. And it seemed like, this is actually working pretty well. So we don't really intend to get one. And honestly, the guys don't really want one. Apparently, a lot of Koreans don't really necessarily want one. And these guys, I think, are so experienced that they can be trusted to set their own schedules and not screw around.
So a couple questions there. the obviously, one person just looking at kind of the makeup of your team, the first thing they'll notice is that a lot of those players are ex-Slayers players.
Yep.
And talk to me a little bit about that, just kind of that trend, and also just your player evaluation when you were picking them, when you were thinking about picking them up.
It really comes down to the fact that these guys already have either proven results or are vouched for by their teammates as being extremely good practice partners. When we brought Mir on, people were like, well, why did you bring Mir on? He's got no results. And you're right, he hasn't. But he is an unbelievably good practice partner. He is utterly incredible, the stuff that he can actually figure out in that matchup. And Ryung attributes quite a lot of his success versus Zerg in the last season of GSL, which is historically not been his best matchup, to Mir's influence. And he went toe-to-toe with Sniper, the eventual winner, narrowly lost by one map. And he also was just carving his way through Zerg, beating Curious twice, which is definitely no mean feat, things like that. So, he did well as a kind of a result of that. And when it comes down to play like Hart and Alicia, Hart was already in the house. He's a great TVT practice partner. He's actually good at a lot of matchups. Hart is incredibly good. Everyone knows Hart's good. He's had consistent results in MLG. He's been in GSL before. He's looking to qualify once again. And then Alicia literally just disappeared off the face of the earth after having 3 second-place finishes in major events that year. And they literally vanished. Why? Because he was essentially hiding from Korean anti-fans. I mean, it's really that simple.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he got burned on the way out by Jessica, and he said some stupid things in and of himself. Like, I'm not going to defend everything he said because he said some pretty silly things that were kind of knocked down, and he seemed like he was just emotional. And the Koreans they believe Jessica for pretty much everything. And it doesn't matter what the evidence is against it. They're going to side with Jessica and Boxer because they're both legends. Right. And they will burn the players. And they did. I mean, on the way out, he got burned hard by Jessica.
Yeah, I think we all saw all those exchanges.
Yeah, he did. Of course he did. So he's been pretty much under the radar.
Yeah,
he was very distraught about the whole thing. He was considering retiring. And I'm like, hang on, there's no reason for you to retire. You still, even during all this drama, on your own, you still did really well in NASL Season 4. You did really well in your group. You've got 3 major second-place finishes this year in really stacked tournaments. You could have won MLG if Dong Regu wasn't such a baller. So why on earth would you quit now? Are you crazy? You've got so much experience. Come and play with us. And he was getting to the point where he said, I don't want a salary. I just want to play StarCraft, and I just want to feel I belong again. I'm like, well, we don't do that. So you're going to have a salary and you're going to play StarCraft with us and we're going to see what you can do. So that's exactly why he's here. And it just happened to work out that we ended up with 4 Slayers players in the next TSL, because these guys all know each other and they can vouch for each other and they've worked together before. So we're not bringing a weird element into the house that might not necessarily work out. There was all sorts of players we looked at and we asked all the players individually, what do you think of this guy? And usually it came down to like, well, actually, this guy doesn't really practice a lot and is actually kind of lazy and scoots by on talent and things like that. And he's asking for too much money and things like that. So we had an insider perspective on everybody. We vetted every player thoroughly before we decided who to actually recruit.
When it came to contract negotiations, just with the money, I mean, it sounds like you guys were convincing to pay these guys probably more than they were looking for. I mean, at least with a few of these players that you guys have. So talk to me a little bit how that went. I mean, were any of the players coming with this amount of money, and then if you can pay it, I'll join your team, or if not, then see ya?
Pretty much all of the requests that they made in terms of salary, assuming they asked for it to begin with, were pretty reasonable. Like, we never had to negotiate them down at any point. And in fact, we negotiated a couple of them up. Alicia is a good example. It's like, I will come and play for you for free. No, you will take a salary because that's how we operate our team. Now, the whole notion behind it is we're trying to give this feeling of worth to the players so that they themselves will love the team. They'll be passionate about the team. And that's why they will play well. Because they actually believe in the team. The team's not just a name and a roof over their head. A team's something that they're willing to fight for, right? And giving them the salary as part of that. We want to make sure that they're not basically just locked into the house. They've got no money to go out anywhere. They can't have any fun. They can't save for the future. And they're always stressed about results because that's literally the only way they're going to get paid. We didn't want that to happen. Of course, we didn't also want to make them too comfortable. You know, we're not throwing a huge amount of money at them, but we're definitely throwing enough at them to live on. And the incentives are there. If you perform well and we attract sponsors, then your salaries increase because that's where the money goes. Once we essentially break even, we start upping your salaries. We start basically putting more incentives in because we never really want the team to be larger than 6. We're almost at full roster. We'll pick up one more person at some point, and then probably another Zerg, I would think, and then that'll be it.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to throw out a question to you. Just as a team owner, there's always a lot of talk amongst the community, industry folks, whether the amount of money that Evil Geniuses is paying their players is too much. What are your thoughts on that? Because there's one sentiment that think the industry isn't big enough to really support those type of salaries, and then the other sentiment is like, hey, we should pay them like we should, if they're superstars, we should pay them like superstars, and then like the money will come, and that's really the strategy we should be taking. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, for one thing, the community doesn't actually know how much they're paid anyway, so it's a lot of wild speculation. Yeah, some of us kind of know, yeah. And there's a couple of salaries within EG that are pretty damn high, but you've also got to bear in mind that EG has so much sponsorship and they do media so well that they can afford it. The only concern I would have is if you pay a player that much, that they maybe become just a little bit too comfortable and they're not even worried about prize money. They can just kind of scoot along, no pun intended, and they can just stream and be a personality and do the interviews and plug the sponsors. But honestly, I don't think that they treat it that way. Like, I haven't seen any evidence whatsoever of that. I think probably the biggest argument that people could make is that Huck was overpaid and his results didn't match that, right? And people will say, oh, well, Idra's overpaid. It's like, no, he isn't. Are you kidding me? Like, Idra is one of the most recognizable faces and voices within esports. He does a metric ton for the team. He's still a decent performer. Put him up against any Americans and he will absolutely tear through. And I've got this feeling that the competition in the US is going to heat up over this year. Let me put it this way. I'd be very, very surprised if I didn't see a major US-centric league kick off this year. It seems like it's ripe.
Please do.
The market is so ripe for this.
Isn't that what
I'm
the
literally
NASL
talking
is?
like, no, because it's full of Koreans. I'm talking
it's
about
the North American server league, dude.
Yeah, of course. The North American server lag, you mean? But I'm not insulting NASL. I actually love those guys.
I do too.
NASL is my favorite nightly tournament to watch, just because it's so much fun. The production values are through the roof. The Pulse is a phenomenal show, by the way.
Yes,
so Chanman, you better step your shit up. Look at that. Look at that. That's what you should be aspiring to.
That's what those guys should be doing. I love that show.
Do you think, though, if they pushed to get it back to where the first year was, where it's more North American centric, that they could improve on it, or at least do something big here in the United States?
I don't think NASL should be the ones to do that because their current format's working just fine. They shouldn't be responsible for essentially creating a league for Americans only because their Koreans are great and there's great matches, and we do still see Americans and Europeans taking games from Koreans on a fairly regular basis in that league, and it's great. It's really nice. But I think that another organization is probably going to end up stepping up and filling this void. Because there needs to be something that stimulates American talent. If I were to make a UK football analogy, there is a reason why Real Madrid doesn't play in the first division against someone like Birmingham or whatever. Because it's a stomp. They're going to win 99% of the time. And you might think, oh, well, that's charity. No, it's not charity. You need all levels of competition to stimulate a proper esports ecosystem. Currently, we don't have that. We've got all Koreans are essentially coming over to pretty much every tournament. They're dominating. I feel that one of the reasons why Europeans were doing so well for the longest time was that Koreans refused to go to DreamHack because it was too expensive and they weren't flying them over. So they had a premier tournament where they could actually compete with each other and the scene got better. The US never had that because as soon as Koreans started coming over to MLG, they got slapped around and weren't even getting out the open bracket. A lot of the spots they were getting almost felt like pity spots. It's like, we're going to give the US some spots. It's like, you've got MVP lurking in the open bracket, and then you've got a couple of US guys that make it through the pool play on the basis of points or the fact that they get a spot just because they happen to be Americans.
Hey, man, we'll take pity spots, man.
Yeah.
We'll take pity
of course.
spots.
Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this last time you were on, TB. But yeah, I absolutely agree. And I hope it's one of the major players, though, because I feel like if it's a small organization, it's not going to get much support.
Yeah,
so,
you need major names behind it. And I'll tell you this, I would watch Americans beating the crap out of each other.
I would too.
All night.
And I would promote the crap out of it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is what you've got to do with it, because you've got to take advantage of the fact, assuming this whole bloody thing happens, and I really hope that if it does, they realize this. Okay, Americans are not as skilled as Koreans. We get that. We understand that. That's out in the open. That never stopped anyone watching the English Premier League. It doesn't stop people from watching college football. Millions of people tune into this stuff. It doesn't matter that these teams aren't world class. You're supporting your local guys, and you're also supporting people that have a personality. And we actually get some real personality into things. And we don't just rely on the occasional Korean and the GSL doing a funny ceremony. We've got a bunch of English-speaking people that are very much well-known personalities. I want to see drama. I almost want to see a little bit of WWE.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, of course. Why not? Why the hell not?
I agree, man.
I wish we had a lot more drama in StarCraft.
Yeah, the good kind of drama, the fun kind of drama.
Yeah.
Where is the trash talking? Where are the rivalries? We're not seeing them. We used to have them, but we don't really have them anymore.
So
I miss the days of Israel and Huck, man.
Is much different anyway from a lot of other communities. They look at it as, they call it BM, which is just weird. I mean, it's trash talking. That's what it is. But they look at it as detrimental to the community when sometimes stuff like that it breeds competition. It just breeds
totally
drama. Good drama.
We're not Kesper. It's not a case of type 3Ps or get disqualified. This is the kind of thing we need to encourage some rivalry, and we need to play on the personalities of the players. I'm talking pre- and post-game interviews over and over and over again. We've got to have featurettes on all the players. We've got to continually push them out there as personalities. This is something that the original IPL did, and it did it pretty damn well. For it being a replay-based tournament. They got them into the studio, they had them talk, and they ran an American tournament. And Idra won it, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I think so.
And it was a good tournament. Like, for their first outing, it was good. You can do that, but you can do it live now. I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You put the money into this thing, you get all the Americans to play. Yeah, I think people would actually watch that. And they would tune in, and people could talk all they want about, I only want to watch the most skilled players. But I'm sorry. Look at the stream numbers and tell me that they're just watching the most skilled players.
Exactly.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying earlier about Idra, is that his results, especially at a major level, may not be the best, but everything else that he does, including his drama and his trash talking at times, brings a lot of value to him. So having some sort of North American tournament doesn't mean we're watching the best skill, which in most cases.
Honestly,
it's not about the best.
He doesn't even trash talk that much anymore. I mean,
No,
the thing is everybody wants to see somebody like Greg win. There are a lot of people that want to see Huck win. There's a lot of people that want to see all these American players that have kind of taken a step back recently, kind of go back to their old winning ways, and
give them a place where they can, and then hopefully have it feed into larger tournaments. Right, that would be ideal. If there's already deals being set up between, we already know about the IEM MLG DreamHack deal. If some league like this was to happen, then have it all feed in, have this just gigantic meta circuit going on, and hopefully really get people's profiles raised and give them the competitive confidence that they need. Instead of like, oh great, I got to go to another Korean festival. There's 28 Koreans, all of which could beat me with their eyes closed, and hopefully I get to dodge them all in the open bracket. Oh wait, I got eliminated in round 1 by MVP. Well, this was a wasted trip, and so on and so forth. Give America competition. Do the same thing with Europe as well. Europe needs it too. Yeah,
and I mean, not to mention the monetary help that they would get too. Winning a tournament. Is a lot bigger deal than beating 1 or 2 Koreans in a tournament and getting credit for that.
I really hope Blizzard steps up. Like, what they did with the WCS is kind of cool, but I would like to see something like what we're seeing with Riot right now in the LCS.
Yep.
Make something regular.
Well, what
make
if
it a
it? I
staple.
mean, it very well could be Blizzard that does this.
It could
that
be.
sets up and does it by region. European League, North American League.
They're the most likely candidate to do it since they've already done some initiative that resembles it in a way, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about the team house, and
Sure.
there's been some talk about team houses also just the last couple of days about training houses. The guys on the Pulse obviously had a long discussion about just are they worth it these days. And you guys just bought one over in Korea.
Yep.
Jenna went over there a few weeks ago and bought one, and the guys are obviously staying there now. And it's a nice place, by the way. I watched your tour video. Good stuff.
Yep. Bit bare bones, obviously, but you'll once we've got a lot more stuff in there, hopefully you'll see like a proper setup, and we can show you everything that's going on there.
Yeah, definitely. So my question to you is, first off, so why get the team house again, and then secondly, tell me the value that you'll be gaining from it and overall assessment of a team house in general in esports. Is it worth it?
Sure. Yeah. Well, why get the team house? Because there was black mold growing on the ceiling of the old apartment. That's a good reason.
Oh, shit.
Because the landlady was crazy.
Oh, my
because
God.
there was literally only 2 rooms, and they were all sleeping in one room, and because the pipes kept bloody freezing.
This was at their current house?
Yeah, that was at their old apartment. This is the place that. Yeah, this is the place.
So it's it's a detriment to their health.
It was a health hazard. Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, as I said, when the whole Slayers kind of bust up happened, MMA, Ryong, Crank, and it all moved down. Hart ended up moving in with them because he was good friends, and they were in this tiny place. It's just, God. When we first brought Crank on, I said, "Show us where you're living right now," and there were no beds. They've been sleeping on the floor for ages. Like, God damn it, guys. All right, signing bonus, we buy all of you beds, right? Because this is ridiculous. This is detrimental to everyone's health. So, we've gotten good bunks and things like that. And we were looking for a team house for obvious reasons because this place was clearly not suitable. It was tiny. A lot of places in Korea are because it's really expensive to get a place in Korea. So we were looking around. We found a few different villas and things like that might have worked out. And we ended up getting this place for kind of a bargain price. It turns out Hart's parents are realtors. So they helped us out.
Really?
That worked out pretty well. So one, they yelled at crazy landlady, which was great. And secondly, they helped out with that. And Crank actually did the final negotiation and got a couple of $100 a month knocked off it. So that was great.
So what's expensive? Like if you don't have to tell me if you don't
beds,
think it's right.
the beds
No, I
are
mean like
expensive.
what's an expensive house like in Korea?
Expensive house in Korea. Well, the whole thing comes down to the amount of money that they require for a down payment. When you rent a place, there's a system called key money, and they're looking for like $20,000 to $25,000 in deposit money alone. Now you do get this back at the end of 2 years. In fact, you're legally mandated. As in, if they don't pay it back, then the government goes after them about it. The whole
Nice.
idea is that this system is very popular during times of high interest when the guy who owns the property can take the money, invest it over the course of 2 years, and then he takes the profits from that and then gives the money back. So it's kind of like a double whammy. You get paid rent and you get that. So, the only risk is if you screw it up and invest it in a bad thing and don't get the money back, and then you have to pull money from elsewhere. Houses are kind of rarely sold over there. There's a lot of renters. It's very difficult to buy a place in Korea. Most of the time you just rent.
Okay.
So it can be pretty expensive. It's mostly because of space premiums. It's a similar problem to like some of the heavily populated areas in Japan. So you're paying for space, and I can't remember the name of it. It's gone out of my head. There's actually a unit of measurement that they actually sell housing by.
Oh,
it's based on floor space.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Cool.
it's all about that really. So that's where the major expenses actually come from.
Okay, so the value. So what value are you gaining from it?
Well, for one thing, we have players that aren't dying from cancerous black mold. That's always nice.
That's just this. Yeah, that's necessity.
It reminds me of that the X-Files, actually. I just imagine it dripping through one of their eyes one night and possessing one of their players.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay.
That sounds terrible. But we got them out of that, and obviously you're not going to have players really perform unless they're actually living in a place that they're happy with. So moving them into that means that we can expect a performance increase from people. The entire house is throwing itself at the Kobe qualifiers with renewed gusto. So we're hoping to try and break through there, as well as, of course, get everything together from the team side of things. And honestly, we now have the space for them to be able to practice efficiently. They don't have to share computers anymore. They don't have to quite literally have rotations in the beds because we have enough space now. So,
rotations in the bed? You mean like who gets the floor?
Yeah,
That's
pretty much.
serious?
I mean,
Oh, wow.
well, yeah.
Okay.
When Mia moved into the house, though we managed to get the 2 bunks, but Mia needed somewhere to live. And when the Slayer's house closed, Mia literally had nowhere to live. And there's a bunch of other people that the same thing. Because moving back in with your parents is we don't like it over here. They really don't like it over there. It's not that the parents hate it. It's just that like the kids find it shameful.
Yeah,
which is that's something we can totally relate to, right? The notion of moving back in with our parents is embarrassing, right? So we said, okay, well, we can give you floor space. We literally have no other space right now, but it's better than moving in with your parents, right? So he was sleeping on the floor for a while, and we just wanted that to be sorted out.
I can imagine round robins every night. Okay, loser gets the floor.
Yeah, well, they actually did a really good job of rotating their sleeping schedules. So what ended up happening, like Crank often stayed up a lot later than the other guys. So when one got up, Crank would then go and sleep and things like that. So that's now dealt with. That's all sorted out. Everyone has beds. What we also have, which is cool for a number of reasons, is we have a room dedicated essentially to allow visiting foreigners to stay, as long as the guys are cool with it. So what we can do is, for the purpose of GSTL, we've got a space where Scarlet can live when she comes over. She's probably not going to be playing in the first couple of games. The plans are, but she will be coming over. So she can live there and everything will be great. And we can also rent it out to other foreigners at a reasonable rate. It's still a little bit of income for us, so we can essentially monetize that part of the house. But we can also have foreigners stay. They can share their skills. They can practice. And we can just be a nice little landing pad, especially now that the GOM house is not an option for people. Right. We can be a landing pad for some people that want to come over and practice and get involved.
Yeah, Scarlet being over there is going to be amazing, I think, for you guys too.
She's going to tear it up, no question about that.
Yes, definitely. And
if she can get that good on NA servers, I want to see what she can do on Korea.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, so why Acer? I mean, did it have a lot to do with MMA, or did it have more to do with Scarlet, actually?
Kind of a bit of both. I mean, MMA, it wasn't really to do with Nurchio because we knew he wouldn't be able to do it anyway because of the way, because of the school commitments. I'd have loved to have Nurchio on the GSTL team, but obviously school comes first, right? Yep. So the reason that we went for Acer is mostly due to MMA. We didn't take on MMA because MMA is being paid a pretty good salary right now by Acer, yeah? So the salary that he was asking for, considering his prominence, was reasonable. But as a small team at that time, we felt we could take him on, but we'd be taking a risk and it would be irresponsible. Because the amount of money he would require for his salary means that it would limit our team size. It would essentially put a cap on the team and say there is no way in hell you are getting any more players until you get sponsors. So we didn't want that inflexibility. If we'd taken on MMA, we wouldn't be playing GSTL because we wouldn't have had enough players. We'd have probably just taken on MMA and we'd have been stuck at 4 and we wouldn't have been able to get out of that. So it makes perfect sense because they played together. It also makes sense to get access to Scarlet and to be able to have a very competitive foreigner be involved. And Acer's one of my favorite teams anyway, so we had good relations with them. So hey, why not Acer? MMA's already living with us anyway. This makes perfect sense. And it's so little risk for Acer when you think about it. It's not like Acer could have competed on their own because they don't have enough players able to go over to Korea. So getting access to a great lineup and just saying, we will handle most of this stuff. MMA plays, Scarlet plays, and we both do joint promotions. It makes sense from everyone's side, right?
Yeah, totally. So talking about just the house and media, a lot of people always talk about making media from the house, and that's one of the ways to monetize a house. Is that actually true? I mean, people can stream from anywhere, so the whole streaming from a house, I feel like is a pretty lame way if that's really what people are talking about. How to monetize a house, because you can stream from home, and make revenue that way.
Yeah.
So Are you guys thinking about making media? I mean, is media really? I mean, can you really generate that much money from making media at a house?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
But you got to do it right. Yeah. Streams are nice, but there are other things that we can do because we already have a better YouTube platform than any other team. Like with this,
Yes.
no other team can compete with us in our YouTube platform. We have the Total Halibut channel, the Totalbiscuit channel, and the Husky StarCraft channel. Who else is going to match that? Nobody. So we can actually monetize in ways that other teams can't do. So we can organize things using our casters, Husky and myself, to create interesting content. We already know what kind of content flies well with the community because we make it. So
do you have plans already in place for some of this? I mean, if you guys are, I figured you did. Probably already started talking about it. And are the players on board with that sort of content, though?
Definitely. They're on. They don't want to do like ladder streams because it's so easy to dissect. People are watching them like hawks.
Yes,
There's a reason why Crank only streams on NA because his Korean practice is kept secret under a Smurf account, like every other Korean player, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to stream on Korea because it reveals too much strategy, and the Kesper teams are very much up for analyzing all sorts of that. They have guys dedicated to that kind of stuff. So it's the same with Ryung. If he's playing in GSL, he doesn't want to be streaming and showing his strats. So we don't force the guys to stream, but we talk to them and like, we could produce media without you having to stream. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Well, we want to do in-house stuff, loads of in-house stuff, and we want to do stuff that's fun and that the community likes. And House of the Swarm was the first example of that, and it was a roaring success. We made money on that. Like we paid for the prize pool, and we made
find
money.
The link for that.
House of the Swarm. I missed this.
Yeah,
what was this?
Let's post
Shoutcraft House of the Swarm. Yeah, Shoutcraft House of the Swarm was a.
Oh, it's
essentially
a right. Okay.
Yeah, it was it was a small Shoutcraft event, $1,000 prize pool in house with 5 people, which was our guys in MMA. Yeah. And Hart wasn't on the team at that time. He was just in the house and playing. So we did a 5-man Heart of the Swarm round robin with a best of 5 finals and an FFA in the middle, which had Husky playing against all of the Axiom guys, which was in itself hilarious. And we put the $1,000 down. We made more than $1,000 on the stream, and we made way more on the VODs. Like we have just made a tournament that made a profit, and we also promoted the team in the process. Like, holy crap, this is a model that works.
So profit meaning more than $1,000.
Yeah, we made more than $1,000 on it, quite significantly more. We made what surprised me is that we made more on the stream alone than the cost of the tournament to run. Which is like, we made that much in stream advertising. We got enough concurrent viewers, and we also got a bunch of new subscribers as a result of that tournament.
How long was
it? What were your concurrent viewers on
we went over 20K concurrents during that tournament.
Gosh.
And, that was just for a little tournament. I mean, Shoutcraft 4 went over 50. And I think that the next Shoutcraft tournament, which I might add will have, we're shooting for double the prize pool of the previous one, so we're looking like a 10 grand event. I could bet I can get it up to those numbers again. And this is as a result of our YouTube presence. Because we have Husky StarCraft, because we have the Total Halibut and Totalbiscuit channels, because we can directly throw traffic right at the stream, and we can monetize everything properly, and we can create a fun tournament for the fans that still allows our guys to practice, that still doesn't necessarily show crazy strats, and it actually makes money. And I don't think there's all that many tournaments that do that, really.
No,
I mean,
I've ran many of them. Most of them
on par with
tournaments
all the
don't make money.
Yeah, I mean, that's on par with the big tournaments. I mean, you're talking about numbers like 20 and 50,000. That's what I am.
And with 1/10 of the overhead.
Yeah, we don't have any overhead.
Exactly, it's no overhead.
Me and Husky spend half the day casting a tournament. My guy in Romania makes all the assets for it. And we still make an impressive looking. It's basic, don't get me wrong. We're not on MLG production level or NASL or anything like that. But it looks pretty, and we have cool features. We do cool.
Absolutely.
We always did cool stuff in Shoutcraft. We always did surprising stuff. And this is the same with House of the Swarm. And I'm thinking, this is what we did without any sponsors. What happens when we get our sponsors announced and lined up, and they want to put money into these events? Like, what happens when that happens and we start doubling, tripling, quadrupling the amount of money that we make from each of these events, and then we inject it right back into the team house, and then we make more content, and it keeps flowing and flowing, and it makes
You're giving out way too many secrets, TV.
Well, I mean,
way too many secrets.
It's okay because no other team can do it. So
I
can give them all my secrets. They don't have the YouTube platform for this.
I mean, but with Shoutcast, you're talking about tournaments that are not so much just in-house content. I mean, you're talking about, big things with probably players that aren't in your house, right? So, I mean, what's it called again? Jeez, what was the
House of the Swarm?
House of the Swarm. House of the Swarm, definitely. But I can't see you doing that all the time. That exact
No,
event
absolutely
all
not.
the time.
Yeah, so I've got all sorts of other ideas.
Okay.
I'm talking about weekly in-house show matches with little twists. I'm talking about stuff. I'm talking about FFAs. Yeah. I'm talking about team games. I'm talking about customs. I'm talking about them playing, throwing them into completely different situations where they can have fun as a house, because they already do that. House of the Swarm was the most BM tournament of 2012, and we're proud of that. We encouraged that. Even our pre-show interviews were all about, tell us embarrassing facts about the other players and things like that. And even in our big Axiom announcement video, half of it was like, give us a statement on things like, most Korean teams and just most Korean players have this whole, they're very humble and they're very much like, I'm so grateful to have foreign fans. Please cheer for me. I will practice harder. It's this, every Korean says that, right? We said to our guys, we understand that's how you are, but you're also showmen. You're great players, but you also have a personality. Let that rivalry come out and say things like, MMA's cooking made me so depressed that I think we'll lose GSTL. Say that kind of stuff, because it's hilarious, and you guys are funny.
Are they learning English? I mean,
yeah, they
are. The majority of your fan base, your following is English speakers, right?
Yeah,
so
they are learning English. Obviously, like at greater or lesser extents. Crank's English is coming on so fast. We actually got them the Rosetta Stone packs so that they can learn English using that. And Hart already speaks pretty good English. Crank's English is really good and is getting a lot better. MMA actually speaks English, just he doesn't really necessarily want to. So when he's involved with Axiom Acer, he will most likely surprise people with English every now and again.
Really? Awesome.
And Alicia's English is actually really good. Alicia's so smart, like incredibly smart guy. So he speaks decent English too. So this is all the kind of stuff that we can do. But even then, you don't need to know perfect English to be funny. You can convey things via gameplay.
Yeah.
And that's, troll strategies and stuff like that is the kind of thing that people love to watch. And that happened in House of the Swarm as well. And Heart of the Swarm is a perfect opportunity for that. Customs are a perfect opportunity, as is off-racing tournaments, and even having them play other games. Like doing an in-house Awesome Noughts tournament, for instance. Just have them play that. And it's fun because you're seeing pro gamers put into a completely different set of circumstances. Have them play a Smash Brothers tournament.
Right.
Set them up with a capture. Do all this stuff. Why not?
We see plenty of other. We see plenty of streams where the players are just sitting there laddering all day. And again, I mean, we bring this up before, but what made Violet's stream different was he was funny because he was learning English, but he was very interactive with the, with the people watching and things like that. What you guys are doing is taking all the best of all of those things and just saying, hey, here it is. And then, of course, it goes to YouTube as well. So you're getting like double dose there.
We actually triple dose it because we're evil. Because we're on Husky's channel as well. It's like Husky uploads his own cast.
Husky's got 3 channels, man.
Yeah, quite literally, we triple monetized the House of the Swarm tournament, and it worked out super well for us.
Wow.
So,
awesome.
And we'll be doing a lot of that, and we're going to be giving our sponsors ROI from that too, because we have our virtual jersey, we have obviously our banner stuff that we're going to be putting on. So sponsors get ROI.
Jersey? What is that?
That is our new scoreboard program. We worked with the developers of Starboard to integrate sponsors directly into the scoreboard UI that automatically change depending on which team you select from a drop-down menu. We're in the process of fully developing this so that it can be used by any tournament and caster that wants it. And our end-game long-term goal is to increase sponsorship ROI across the board for every team, because it benefits everybody if more sponsors are interested.
Nice.
So we ran it in the House of the Swarm, and Complexity was super happy with it, and Acer was super happy with it, because we had Heart and MMA playing, so we had all the Acer sponsor logos, and we had all the Complexity sponsor logos appearing at the top of the screen in a non-intrusive way, and it's like they're at tournaments wearing their tournament jersey, but they're playing an online event.
Got it.
You remove the expense of having to travel to these tournaments just to show off your brand. You can do it online.
Yeah, easily too. That's pretty cool. So you should do the trash talking mini tournament. Like put them all on mic and have them play that way.
Open mic.
Not pre-game, none of that BS. Just put them on during the entire time, because I've been wanting to do that forever. I just don't have any time. So
Yeah, we're thinking of camming up the house for just that. And, seeing if any fist fights erupt. We'll see.
I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about just normal, in game, just friendly BM. Not like angry BM where they're like throwing crap at each other and shit. But
Yeah, and we're just hoping this virtual jersey thing is coming along quite nicely. We're putting all the art assets into it, and I really hope that.
Yeah.
It's just we want all teams to be able to use it in their productions. Because teams are doing their own little tournaments here and then. Team Liquid and EG are two great examples of organizations that put on great tournaments. And it seems like all teams can reinvest in the scene and get benefit while still being competitive, right?
Right,
and
absolutely.
I don't expect things like MLG to do it because they've got like 15 sponsors, and then you'd have NOS coming along and say, "Why is Red Bull on the screen?" But we don't even need that, because if 2013 works out the way that I hope it does, and we get more tournaments and we get more infrastructure on this whole tiered basis, where it's not just the whole top Korean tournaments all the time, then we can get all sorts of stuff operating on the medium level that fans are still interested in, and just create a richer, healthier ecosystem for everybody, and then everyone benefits, and we all get more sponsors, we all make more money, and everything becomes more sustainable, right?
So getting back to the original question, do team houses work? I mean, is your answer basically, unless you have the platform you and Husky have, they're just not going to work? I mean,
well, they still can. Do team houses work? Ask Kesper. Yeah, they bloody work. Of course they work. Have you seen Wunjin Star's team house? Holy crap! They've got massage chairs, for God's sake. This place is a palace. And they're one of the smaller Kesper teams, and they're dominating Pro League right now. Clearly, team houses work. You've just got to figure out what you want to do with it.
That's like a nicety. I feel like that can be a nicety that just comes from success of the league that spills on to the teams and the content. People that are making the content.
But I mean, Stars are not they're not like the most successful team, though, right?
They're not. They're like the least successful, and look what they have. At that team.
But how do we? Hey, but guys, how do we know that they're actually successful? I mean, do we know where they're
are? I mean, they're making
financially.
Yeah, they're making a lot of money. I mean,
just because they have a nice house and everything, we don't know where their money's coming from, right? Or do we?
Well, we do, because the team name is Wunjin Stars, and if I recall, Wunjin is a pretty large financial institution over there.
It is.
Yeah, the Wunjin Group and things like that. So, yeah, that's a kind of a pretty big deal. Yeah, they are sponsored by Wunjin, so that's kind of a big deal for them.
So it's their sponsors that are. I mean, I guess my question is running a team league, like, you guys don't have sponsors in place right now. But it sounds as if I'm sorry, not a team league, but it sounds as if you would be able to find ways to sustain a team without relying on a sponsor. If a sponsor walked away, you couldn't.
We'd still be fine. Yeah, I mean, we've already paid for the team house for a year anyway. So, that's already sorted. So there's no way that team house is shutting down until at least 2014, assuming that everything would go wrong. But it's everyone who creates a team house needs to figure out, before they even put the money down, how am I going to make this worthwhile? And there are some people that invest in these gigantic-ass team houses, and you're like, well, why? Why did you do that?
Right.
And what was your plan?
Yeah.
Where, our plan is we are having a small team. We have an affordable team house that we've paid up for a year. It is going to be a good training facility for these guys to live together and practice together. And we're not turning it into a media center, but we have the facility to be able to do cool stuff that's fun in their off time that doesn't interfere with their practice, because all of our guys are up for that stuff. And they understand
content that you can't get everywhere else. I mean,
you can't get anywhere
that's the
else.
main thing.
It's
that's
unique.
the main thing.
It's our brand, right? The team house solidifies our brand, and we're not. It's not just a case of we have Ryung. It's like we are Axiom, and this is our lineup. We are playing in team leagues to demonstrate that we are a team. We are the Axiom house. The Axiom brand has worth, and it all synergizes nicely together with the way that our players actually want to compete and the stuff that they want to do.
Right.
So yeah, we will keep making content that emphasizes us as a team.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be a difference than some of their teams, because it's all about the individual. Like, they bring some hot shot on, and the whole team basically revolves around
them.
Player. Yeah, which then again makes it not a team anymore.
Yeah, that makes the team house pointless, right? Because they could just do that and have him live at home. We're focusing our content on the team, and we will always focus it on the team. And as a result, the team house is of greater value to us. And hopefully, in the long run, we'll be producing the content that makes the money to keep everything afloat.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what to take from it is that the content that people are talking about, that John talks about, has nothing to do with streaming, just the individual streaming and that sort of thing. It has to do with just original content that's created by those players that are there, and the whole concept of just having like the value of the team house is purely a training house. That doesn't work. Like you have to pay for that training house.
If it's gonna work, you've got to do it the way that Kesper does it, right?
Well, you have to win. If you don't win, it's like you can't pay for it for probably more than a year, honestly.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, people ask how Kesper has all this money, and I think they've got to kind of understand what Kesper actually is. The weird thing about Kesper is that Kesper is made up of the sponsors, which is super weird. It's representatives from sponsors and the big companies that are involved in sponsoring the Kesper teams. The Kesper exists because they wanted to figure out the smartest way to invest their money and get the biggest return. And that's why they're so successful. And that's actually terrifying when you think about it. It's like, holy crap.
Died.
Oh, stream got out.
What the hell? God. There's nothing on my end. Like, that tells me it died.
Yeah, we'll just wait for it to get back up.
All right. It's not DDoS.
Nah, it's not DDoS.
Yeah,
you're still on Skype.
Exactly.
DDoS.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with DDoS.
Is it back? Should be.
Yeah,
it should be back.
Cool.
I'm refreshing.
Sorry, guys. I don't. Nothing on my end, so I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Anyway, Kesper is the reason that these teams are as flush as they are with cash, because the guys running the league are also the sponsors of it directly. It's like, I could just think about the American equivalent, like the chairman of NOS is sitting there around the big table. There's like the Full Sail University guys over there, and it's like, how do we best make StarCraft work? They don't have any experience with this. Kesper has 10 years of experience with this.
Right.
This is why they're so good at it. And these houses are big and successful because these guys know the way to make the maximum amount of money from this. Yeah. And you're not seeing Kesper teams imploding left, right, and center as a result of that. The ESF doesn't have that. And as a result, you're seeing ESF financing faltering, and you're seeing some of the teams closing down. Hopefully, we won't have too many. And for what I've heard from over there, like, it seems like the worst is kind of over. I know Prime seems like they're struggling a little bit, but they're certainly not down and out. And obviously, we've heard a lot about StarTale because obviously they lost two key players. But the situation over there is not exactly dire as some people will make it out to be. But Kesper does do this thing better. They understand how all this stuff works, and the Kesper model operates really well. And their overheads are fairly low because pretty much most of their players don't get paid. Only the top ones really get paid in the Kesper environment.
Right.
So
is Pro League a goal for you guys?
No. We have. I know that I spoke to the guys, and I'm like, "Do you want to get in Pro League?" And they're like, "Not really." It would be cool for them in the really long term, but we'd have to expand the team probably beyond 6 players, and you have to sort of get Kesper membership to be directly involved in Pro League. So, and that costs a lot of money.
I mean, membership meaning that 100K or whatever.
Yeah, you've heard the 100K number knocked around. Yeah. I don't know if that's what EGTL paid. It's possible that Kesper worked out a deal because they thought, well, how good would it, if Kesper finally figured out, how good would it be if we had a foreign team that's actually competitive? That would bring in numbers, right? Even that would bring in Korean numbers because they're curious. You have a lot of fangirls going out there just to watch the EGTL guys, and it's like because there's curiosity.
Girls and not guys. Okay.
Both. But there's a lot of girls over there.
Yeah.
Although I hear some of the guys, some of the girls that are doing the whole fighting thing before every single thing are actually hired. It's like, wow, that's.
Oh really? That's kind of lame.
I was so upset by that.
That's lame.
Apparently they're not all hired, but they've got kind of almost like cheerleading, I guess, over there.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. It's Kesper cheerleading.
So I don't know. They might have worked something out, but it's not an investment that we really want to make right now. Pro League's kind of the thing that you've got to commit to in a really big way at the expense of almost everything else. There's a reason why EGTL aren't competing in GSTL, because they're too focused on Pro League. Our guys want to experience different tournaments, and they pretty much all said, we really want to compete in GSTL. Like, this is the thing that we would be most passionate about. I'm like, okay, let me make that happen for you. And some of the guys want to go to DreamHack, and like, Let me see what I can do about that. And IPL, and just experience different events. Because let's be honest, pro gaming is not something you can do for 20, 30 years. This is a short period of their lives where they've got to take advantage of whatever they can do to go and experience the world and do the things that they will never otherwise get a chance to do.
Yeah.
So this is something that these guys really want to consider, especially considering that some of them, we've got like 2 guys that have done their military service already, which is great, which means they won't be pulled out.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, it's the military.
That's kind of a big deal. Yeah. But we've some of our guys will have to do military service eventually, right? So we need to make sure that they get the most fun and the most fulfillment they can really get, and really develop as people before they have to go into the military and do their mandatory service. So, yeah.
Awesome.
So TB, when the 2013 schedule starts to roll out, and the major leagues are start putting up their schedule, are you guys looking to to get your players to as many of them, or have you kind of selected a few, or some of the players?
We leave it up to the players.
Okay.
We asked each of them, which of these tournaments are you really interested in going to? Right. And some of the guys said DreamHack, some of the guys want to come back to IPL. But one way or the other, it's not even down to us because they've got to qualify. Yeah. A lot of these tournaments now, if you don't qualify, then you're not getting in. So
sounds like IPL might have an open bracket.
It sounds like they might. And if they have an open bracket, we're definitely bringing a couple of players over. Right. But obviously we need to... GSTL is kind of our priority for the next few months. So we need to be able to work around that. I don't want our entire team coming out to IPL being super jet lagged when they come to GSTL and lose to a 6-pool. That would be super embarrassing. 6-pool all kill. That's terrible. But one way or the other, we'll just send out a couple of players that really want to go. Make sure we get our exposure there. We know our players can compete in pretty much any roster if they're properly prepared. So I would love our guys to be out at IEM. I would love to get Mia out to a tournament. One of Mia's probably biggest problems is that he's a really great player in practice and he's got nerve issues. So he's got to get over that. And I think an open bracket would be a great time for him to do that because he's not... Open brackets generally aren't all that spectated, so he can actually just kind of tear through the open bracket, get some confidence up, and by the time he gets on the big stage, he's like, I just beat 8 or 9 guys, I'm going to go and slaughter the next guy that comes in front of me. So I think that's a great opportunity for him. Getting Alicia out to another MLG and seeing him compete. Obviously, his placement should allow him to play in NASL again, so get him into online tournaments and things like that as well. So,
all right, good stuff.
We got all sorts of plans, and it's all driven by the players as well. We consult with the players very heavily. There's actually a really good relationship between us and the players, where they're pretty much involved in all of our business decisions. Right. They even know, Crank knows our financial situation. We give him detailed information on all that stuff. So
that's great, man.
It gives the team confidence because, this is the financial situation. I'm not going to be kicked out next month. This is good.
Being transparent about it it makes a huge difference to the players.
Involving them in all this stuff means they can actually focus on what matters, which is playing well, because they feel confident and they feel secure.
Awesome. Well, I think we're going to take questions from you guys in just a second here, but I wanted to ask one last thing just regarding Axiom before we start that. So the way you start calling in is add me on Skype. Skype ID is ChanmanV. And then I'll take your call randomly from the 100 callers that are probably going to be happening here in a second. But I want to ask you just kind of what your current status is on acquiring sponsors right now.
We have quite a sponsor, and I'm in talks with 2 other major sponsors. I'm not ready to announce the first sponsor yet because we still need to... Basically, I suddenly realized that being sponsors like, I haven't got a contract for you guys to sign. I better write one. And it's been a little bit hectic. So the cool thing about this sponsor is that it's a fairly small sponsor, but it's a community sponsor. And it fits in so well with our whole idea about reinvesting in the scene for long-term benefits for us. And we think that this particular sponsor they're gonna get a great benefit from sponsoring us. We're going to get benefit from them rising to prominence as a result of us, and in the long term, it's actually going to come back around and really help us out. And I'm all about double dipping and triple dipping. Like if I can make my money go as furthest as possible by reinvesting it over and over again, and making triple back, whether it be just by putting the VODs up on multiple places or doing all sorts of other stuff like that, I will do it. And this sponsor fits perfectly in with my marketing ideas here. So I think people are going to be really happy with it because it's very much community driven sponsor, and then with the other sponsors, we're approaching. I'm talking to a lot of people right now. I spoke yesterday. I got in touch yesterday with the guys that make Shin Ramyun, the Korean
the
noodles. Yeah, exactly. It's like,
I eat that a lot.
It's like, why the hell are they not sponsoring esports? And I just look at all this stuff, and I look at my demographic on YouTube, and I look at the ads that YouTube runs on my stuff. I'm like, this is the demographic that Google, the biggest ad agency in the world, thinks is good for these products. Yep. Why don't I contact them for esports? Because it's the same demographic.
Seriously.
So why don't I talk to food? Why don't I talk to alcohol? Why don't I talk to deodorant? Why don't I talk to all these other different people?
We've talked about alcohol in here.
Yeah. I drunk tweeted Finlandia while I was on the plane because I'd had about 10 vodkas because I was super nervous. I'm like, Finlandia sponsor our esports team. It didn't work out so well, but we'll get there. We will get there, and we're just going to keep working on it, and we're going to get sponsors that the guys really like. Right. And if I nail down this other major sponsor, I think it's going to be a huge surprise to everybody because this is highly unusual. They're the kind of guys that I spoke to, and
non-endemic.
Let's just say it's not your average Razer or Steel series. Like, it's something completely different that people wouldn't have expected, and it all results from the fact that our media base on YouTube is completely different to every other team's, and I have access to all this stuff in general gaming that no other team really does. So more different kinds of people are interested in talking to me about sponsorship than the regular kind of run of the mills.
Yeah, which is great, and that's why I've always thought that Axiom has. You guys have potential for something completely different than what everybody else is doing. So it's really cool.
Yeah, we actually have an unfair advantage. Really.
Unfair.
What's fair?
No, you worked for it. But I and that brings up a question I wanted to ask is, and maybe you've answered it kind of just in our conversation, but where in general do you see Axiom, let's say 5 months from now?
Hopefully with a GSTL trophy. That would be nice.
Okay. Well,
I expect our players hopefully to have developed and to get a very clear idea of what they're really good at, what they want to compete in, and we will hopefully have added another player by then, and got the 6 people, and we'll probably just stop there because we feel that that's good enough. And there are definitely arguments for depth and breadth of team, and GSTL is going to be hard. Like, no one should think otherwise. We are not going into this thinking we're going to stomp GSTL. Are you kidding me? Look at what we're against. We're not going to stomp GSTL. We're going to have to fight for every single map victory. You know what? That's going to be a great experience for our players and for our fans to watch. And we're willing to take on a hard challenge because that's what our players want. They are eager for the chance to prove themselves in this format. Right. So what I'm hoping is we'll have put on a good showing. Even if we don't win GSTL, we'll have proved the point that our model works, that our players are absolutely worthy of the attention that they receive, and that they're just going to keep getting better from there. And hopefully Heart of the Swarm's success will really help drive all of that.
All right. Amazing. All right, let's start taking callers. But while I get this caller on, can you give us a sense of... Well, one of the things I noticed is that you guys have been pushing, like, Axiom Apparel. And before, you've sold a lot of Cynical Brit t-shirts before, too.
Yes, yeah.
But, I mean, I kind of have a sense that it's a pretty good moneymaker. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that revenue channel, just merch and apparel and that sort of thing.
Well, let me put it this way. If people knew the amount that we made on the All Fanboys Must Die two-week limited edition run, they would probably vomit. Like, we were taken aback ourselves by, it's like, holy crap, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
And we sold thousands.
How fast did y'all sell out?
Sorry?
How fast did y'all sell out?
We sold the first run out in 16 hours. And that was 1,000 shirts.
Oh, man. Crazy.
We had to do 2 more runs, so you can have an estimation of that. But we also had combo packs. We were selling these posters as well, and you could buy a combo pack. You save a little bit of money. And when we got the final amount in, it's like, what the hell is this? This is insane. And
merch, man.
Merch is pretty potent, and the way that we market it through, we have a company called Rodeo Arcade. And these are the guys that we work with. We have a District Line store as well, and District Lines are great too. In fact, just a quick plug for those of you who are complaining about shipping costs in the EU, we just negotiated a new flat rate with District Lines. So anywhere in the world, $6 shipping.
Wow.
And our Axiom shirts, our 2012 runs, are $15 each. I mean, that's easy cheap.
15 for the t-shirt?
at 15 for the t-shirt.
Wow, they're usually
Cheap,
20.
so cheap.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty
cheap.
good.
Yeah,
Nice.
and Rodeo Arcade's kind of where we sell our premium stuff. My t-shirts for All Fanboys Must Die were like the best quality we could get. Full all over prints, front and back, black, really nice stained color,
Nice.
$30, and that's a premium level t-shirt, right?
Yep.
And these things are super comfortable. Anyone that owns one can tell you it's the best t-shirt they own. And
Awesome.
we're, every couple of months I'm going to spend a lot of time working on a new design, something that's really awesome that you want to own, that you're okay wearing in public, that's not horribly embarrassing, that's not like overly branded with our stuff. And we're going to release cool stuff with it. We'll do posters, we'll do little freebies, we'll do little stuff that we give away. Just like to have it's a really nice, when you buy a t-shirt from that place, you're buying something that you're going to keep hopefully for years, and that is a really nice collector's item, because we run them for 2 weeks and that's it, we're done.
Yeah, and they
These
have a
are
new design.
collector's
That's good stuff. Will you work with the designers?
Yeah, I basically all of our design is done by Chris, aka Zook Does Stuff on YouTube. He's a full-time employee of Cynical, Brit, and Highbrow Studios.
Nice.
So he essentially works on all of that stuff, and he has great ideas. He's responsible for things like the Axiom logo. He's responsible for a lot of the art.
Which, by the way, is a very good logo.
And some people think it's a petrol company. They think it's like, and you're like, you know what? I'm okay with that.
Hey, man, everybody needs gas. It's cool.
You want,
It's
yeah,
cool.
you want to compare us to major international oil barons? I'm all right with that,
Yeah.
rather than
Exxon,
some like
Axiom,
crappy fly-by-night operation. It's nice. I think it looks nice and official and slick. So
Right.
that's pretty cool. But yeah, merchandise sales, if you do them right, they can be a massive boon for your team. And
If you do them wrong, you're stuck with a bunch of merchandise.
Well, you can almost do it. Can't you almost do it by, just production by order?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
like
can.
drop shipping.
We do that, and we pay a cut to District Lines and to Rodeo Arcade, but the cut that we get is still surprisingly good, and we don't have to handle any nonsense, and we know that the customer service is going to be good to make sure that the fans, when they buy the shirts, are not going to get crap.
Yeah.
So that's super
stuff.
important.
Good stuff.
And we're really happy with it. And there's going to be more shirts. There's going to be really unique designs based on Axiom that are not just, here's the team uniform. Obviously, we'll do that too, but we'll have some really cool stuff for people. And it won't just be shirts either. It's going to be some really interesting things.
Cool.
Doing a shirt's easy. Doing something that people really want to keep, that's something completely different.
Yeah. All right, let's take some callers. Let me switch over
Sure.
here, and let's see. All right, Jerry Bush, you're going to be first. We're just going to randomly choose from the callers, guys. You have to actually call. All right, I'm going to set this up again because I was all set up for Paul here. Jerry, what's up?
Oh, what's up?
Hey, you got a question for us?
Yes, I got a question for TV. I actually got two. My first one is, when are you going to be releasing eSports Manager for like Xbox and stuff like that?
eSports.
We need to make that game. God, what a brilliant idea
Seriously.
for team financing. We will release a video game. No one,
Please,
you don't see EG
please.
with their own video game.
Hey, you can brand our next game, Axiom, if you want. Axiom, shit, what's our next game? Axiom Bejeweled. or Axiom Angry Birds.
That's actually a bloody brilliant idea, and I'm stealing it now. So thank you very much for that.
You're welcome. My second one is, do you feel like Americans aren't as good at esports just because they only go to the Korean tournaments? Like, they go to the Korean tournaments and they get their ass beat all the time, and so, okay, I'm getting my ass beat, I'm never really going to get better. I mean, it's always good to get that little taste of it, but you never want to just keep getting beat.
Cutting up a
Yeah.
little bit.
He's
He's
broken
cutting
up
out,
there, but I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did too.
And
It's-
I think you're absolutely right on that. And I feel that you've got to have so many different tiers of competition to really encourage people to essentially compete at the highest possible levels. It's a building process. You can't just take a guy that's GM on ladder in America, throw him in against the best Korean players in the world and expect him to do well. It's nice when you get the breakthrough every now and again from the Americans, and that's always a really good story. But there's got to be inter-country competition. Every other sport does this. Every other sport. And the fact that ours doesn't is hurting us really badly. I mean, the Americans unfortunately have this really they have an inherent disadvantage because they don't have the Korean ladder, right? The Korean ladder, as many people have said, our toasters have said this so many times, is like the best training tool you could possibly ever hope to have.
Well, not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
The best training
Apparently
tool
not.
just came out.
Yeah, because you've got this new thing. What a perfect opportunity for them. What a
Right.
perfect
Yeah.
opportunity to utilize this new replay system. And yeah, I absolutely think that more inter-country competition, nation war stuff, and mid-level leagues will absolutely be useful to help the Americans out.
For the 3,000 people that are listening that care about esports, what TB just said is probably
he's
the
gone.
most important thing if we want to see esports grow, and that's structure from the bottom up, tiers,
Yep.
regionalizing different things, college leagues, things like that. I mean, we can have all the media, all the WWE kind of events out there, and we can have, superstars made. But if we have nothing at the bottom, then when those superstars die out or the money dies out, we have nothing to stand on, and we have to have these tiers in place.
Yeah, exactly. We have CSL right now, which is great. We need more of that. And we don't just want to...
We need it structured. We need it structured a lot more. And I mean, to answer his question directly, it's like it's not just the players' fault right now. We don't have the infrastructure to actually
people
support
claim,
those guys.
Americans are lazy. That's an easy cop-out populist bullshit answer. It's like, there's actually a lot of players that they are so determined. And they're just beating their head against a wall right now.
Yeah.
And throwing themselves in the open bracket to be murdered by 20 top-tier Koreans that happen to come over.
It's not even just the open bracket. It's also like the playhams too are being.
Yeah,
the
definitely.
Koreans can play the playhams whenever they want too. So there's no isolated environment for them right now.
Yeah,
and
some people think that's kind of charity and that we shouldn't do that, and I fundamentally disagree.
Yeah,
and again, I point to every other sport on the planet. You don't let Real Madrid play in the English First Division. There's a reason for that, and you need to emulate that.
My son's in a soccer club, and there's 3 or 4 tiers of players, and you work your way up, trying to get on the best team. But the best team doesn't play in the league with the casual guys. I mean, they'd kill them every time if they did.
Of course, yeah.
It's no fun for the really good players, and it's definitely no fun for the guys that are getting hammered 12-0 in a soccer match.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
right.
Why is it that kids soccer leagues can understand this and esports can't? Where the hell did we go wrong?
Yeah.
all right, getting Jay on
because
here.
it was all about media for a long time. I mean, once media started popping out, everyone just put all their money into trying to make it some big, spectacular event, and we forgot all about the structure of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not wrong, but it's unfortunately a short-term business strategy.
Right.
It's like, the esports is so sponsor-driven that, like, we need to drive the media side of things. This is the most important thing, when it's actually not. So, I mean, it's...
And coming from someone like yourself, who's
That's a
big
media
on YouTube
person.
and media, that's a big thing, and people should definitely listen to that, because it's very important.
Jay, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, buddy, you got a question for us?
Yeah, I was just wanting to ask John a question.
Sure.
Which John?
Which John?
Oh, wait, John Bain,
Okay.
Okay.
the British one. I was just wondering if I could have a tickle of your bollocks.
Oh God! Oh my.
What?
There's a
right.
little merchandising option, right? We could sell that. That's cool.
Exactly. All right, let's get JoJo on here. We haven't had a troll in a long time on the show.
That was a good
I don't
one.
know.
Man.
Yeah, that was a good one.
British trolls are always the best trolls.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, you know. He
It's all right. That's good.
he had me
8.5 out of 10,
he had me
right?
going there for a second. JoJo, what's up?
Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going?
I got a question about the team idea. You talked a lot about the positive aspects of a team. What do you see as the biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge? That's a pretty cool question. It's mostly, I think the biggest challenge is actually even making the team even value as a team in a 1v1 format, right? Because the whole idea of a team is just insane when you come to StarCraft, because it's a 1v1 game. Why the hell would you need a team, right?
Right.
So you've got to figure out where's the value we can get from a team. How can we make this greater than the sum of our players? And that's a huge challenge. And it all ties into the way that team houses work, right? And the most successful team houses are the ones that understand how to make the team more than the sum of its parts. And They play a lot of team leagues. They understand team league strategy. It's not just about saying, oh, this guy's really good in this matchup, so I'm going to throw him into this map. No, they play an overall strategy across the board. And these guys are, the ones that are really mastered this game and are doing incredibly well as a direct result. So I have a feeling that's probably that to me is the biggest challenge when running a team, is to just the very notion of being a team to begin with.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with Skype, guys, but the callers they keep getting disconnected after they ask the
apparently,
question.
according to chat, Jojo actually dropped deliberately just because he'd asked this question.
Okay, cool.
The sound was problematic, so yeah.
All right, cool. All right, let's get Quinn on here. Q-Win.
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering, Totalbiscuit, do you think, this might sound a bit stupid, but do you actually think that other teams are slightly jealous of the viewer base that you already come into eSport with? Let's say, like, you just made a team and you already, well, let's be honest, you're kind of huge already. Do you think that they kind of, like, slightly jealous that you could come in this quickly and be this big?
Because we essentially cheated, right? Yeah. I mean, I've never got the impression from talking to any of the guys that they're jealous. But would they like our media reach? Well, yeah,
of course
they would.
Yeah.
But I think that teams in general they don't, for the most part, really get salty about other teams and like any kind of boons that they get, because if they're looking at the long view and if they look at the overall esports ecosystem, they see all of these viewers come into esports and they think, this is cool for everybody.
Yeah.
This is more viewers. And this is why teams...
It spills over.
Yeah, this is why teams were my biggest supporters when I started casting and when the community was basically shitting on me on a daily basis because I didn't know anything about the game. And
they
it was
still
always
do.
the team. Oh, yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, they definitely do. But it was always the guys. It was the EG management. The players warmed up to me after a while, but the Team Liquid in particular, was really supportive of me back then because they understand, hey, this is someone that's trying to bring in new people into the scene. This benefits everybody. This is great for our sponsors. This is great for our website. And I think that that's the overall attitude that most teams have. And if they don't have that, then they're kind of short-sighted. So I don't think the jealousy thing's really a factor.
So you would say
I wouldn't be jealous. If I was a team owner and you were doing all of these things, I certainly wouldn't be jealous. I'd be envious, and I would do everything I could to try to emulate, exactly what made you successful, which is why it's so frustrating and baffling to me that there are so many teams out there, some of which have had huge sponsors and a lot of money behind them, and they didn't do anything with it. They didn't look around and say, "Wow, that seems to be working. Let's go with that or improve on it or something." It's just, I don't know. I think a lot of teams were just put together like, "Well, let's just make a team and it's going to magically happen."
As you said, though, he did not to take anything away from. It's not to take anything away from John, but he did, like, as we just heard his story, he did work like massively on this viewer base. I wasn't trying to take anything away from you, by the way. I was just wondering.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. But I mean, it's totally the perspective you are putting out there. Is quite literally the perspective of a lot of people when I first got into StarCraft. There's a reason why all this drama started, like in 2010, and I had ended up fighting with Jeff and Greg and a couple of other people because that's the perception they got. And funnily enough, that's actually the same perception that Jen got when she announced the team from a couple of different team owners, because what they initially saw was someone, kind of a bull in a china shop, right? Just blasting their way into the scene, saying, "Hey, look at me! I'm gonna I'm gonna take all your sponsors and players." And it's like that's not really what we're ever about. Right. But you could definitely understand the perspective. And I don't expect all of the StarCraft guys like, "Oh, I'm gonna look through the past 10 years of what Totalbiscuit did." And like when he did this podcast and WoW in 2005, and like I don't expect him to know that. No one got time for that shit. But it does come down to the fact that I think the team owners are really wised up. The teams that are still around have really wised up to how much they can benefit from the overall ecosystem being healthy and people bringing in new blood to the scene.
May I suggest a team house idea for you as the last thing I do, and then I'm out because everyone else wants to be in there.
There you go.
You take your players and you take Dodger, and then you take, why did the name just leave me, Jesse, and then you get your players to train them each for a week, and then they battle it out in like a best of 3, and then like
God,
you
Jesse
upload it, because you get 3 viewer bases.
That's
Jesse
phenomenal.
getting schooled by Trisha was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen last year.
Wasn't it? Yeah, that's actually a great idea. You know, this is the kind of stuff that teams need to be doing all the time. They need to be creating interesting media and linking up with people that are not necessarily within the esports team, because then you get cross-pollination, and then you bring in new people, and you get huge new audiences, and you've got to be doing all that all the time.
Because you bring in 3 viewer bases. You bring in yours, you bring in Jesse's, you bring in Dodger's.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
He gets it.
He does get it. Thanks, Q-Win. He gets it, for sure. All right, let's get 2 more. Let's get 2 more here. Lots of people. I'm going to close my eyes. Oh, all right, here we go. Epoch. Why doesn't it ever work the first time I drag it? There you go. Team Epoch. That's his logo.
Let's see if we can get him on the line.
Yeah, let's get him online here.
And I did post a question that somebody's asked us several times in the chat. It's in our Skype channel, by the way.
Okay,
Chris, so.
let's just get it after this. Hey, Epoch, what's up?
This is a question for Totalbiscuit. I want to just because I can hear you twice. Sorry about that. I want to know what you think about more small tournaments for like not necessarily pro gamers, but for like low GM and stuff. Because I remember you costed the Reddit finals or something like that, and I'm just wondering if there should be like more tournaments out there for smaller players to get recognized and stuff. Because I remember like about a month ago you costed a Reddit final, and I really like that stuff. So I'm just wondering if there should be more tournaments out there like that.
Yeah, I think so, and it's something that we had back in 2010. There was a hell of a lot more of that stuff, and for some reason, a lot of that has kind of died out. I don't know whether or not it's just not financially feasible, or whether people just don't want to watch it anymore. But I think that local tournaments and things like that are really important. Smaller local esports events as well. I mean, I'm talking live stuff. I mean, there was actually a Scottish event, if I recall correctly. It was quite some time ago, and it was at, I think, the Twitch LAN cafe, the Twitch Internet Cafe. They did a tournament like that, and that was kind of cool. And more stuff like that kind of needs to happen. And I think competition at all levels is important, because the more people we get into competitive esports, the bigger audience we end up getting in the first place. So many people have ladder anxiety, right? And as a result, it actually affects their willingness to get involved in the competitive scene, even from a very low level. I think stuff like Playhem really, really helped while it was still up. I know they're going to start it again. I competed in a Playhem Gold to Platinum tournament. It was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life. I won my first game, and I was super happy about it, and then I got my ass kicked. But it's cool to be able to have access to that, and just be able to earn points, and even get like $6 for winning like a bronze tournament, right?
It's just a fun experience. It's just like when I went to MLG. I mean, I've played some of those online tournaments too, and they're really, really fun. And going to MLG's open bracket, knowing you're not going to win, but it's just fun.
Well, the whole
else do you
idea
get
is
to play
about
against
competition.
MVP? Yeah.
People always say in esports we just play games to play games, but I don't play games to lose.
Yeah,
Everyone
there's
plays
a lot of
games for
competitive
an
people
opportunity to win.
We
The
play
whole idea is
competitive.
about competition.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Competitive gaming, not just esports. It's
Yep.
just-
Anything that enables competitive gaming for more tiers of the player base is a good
yes,
thing.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely. All right, thanks, bud.
Ooh,
I'm
did we miss him?
always so quick with it. Jeez.
Yeah,
I'm so bad.
if he wants to say one last thing, he can always grab us in the chat. So
Yeah. I am such an asshole when it comes to Skype. I'm nice every other way, but when it comes to Skype and cutting you guys off, I am the biggest asshole.
you're killing esports, man.
Harv, what's up?
Hello?
Hey,
Hello?
you there?
Hello.
Hey, man.
Hey, welcome to Climbing the Ladder. Got a question?
Alright. Yeah, I have a question for TB.
Okay.
Oh, shit. Sorry, the
He
stream's
just realised the stream was running back.
Yeah.
Right.
It's great. I get to hear Chanman say, "I'm the biggest asshole" 3 times. in a row.
Yay!
Yeah, TB, what made you want to make the team? the Axiom team in the first place?
Well, it was more kind of Jen's influence than anything else, and it was all down, I think, to the experience that we had with Crank at MLG. And it was a really rewarding experience for the both of us. I think more so for Jen than it was for me, because obviously I was stuck behind the curtain commentating. But it was a case of seeing a guy that has had some team troubles and had some injury problems, getting a chance to compete and proving beyond the shadow of a doubt that he was worthy of being there and putting on some great entertaining games. And think about how amazing it was for someone to actually beat Tasia twice in one tournament at that time. Literally no one else had done that. So he ripped through the open bracket. He did so many great things. And at that point, it's like, can this work as a team rather than just an individual sponsorship? It was always intended just to be like a sponsorship of that one event. Because we saw it on Reddit, and it's like, we can help there. We can do that. And then it ended up turning into, well, what about we support this player in the long term? What happens there? And what about if we then start to build this team? And then we start thinking, do we have the resources to make this work? And our overwhelming conclusion is, yes, we actually do. And we also have a lot of unique advantages that other teams don't. Why can't we try something different to what the current teams are doing? Mm-hmm. Let's give it a shot. I suppose it's not the sort of thing you decide overnight. Say, I want to run a professional gaming team, but it's something that Jenna really wanted to try, and we went through all the financials. She handles all that stuff, and she's the most organized of the group. Needless to say, I'm terrible at that stuff. But we thought, yeah, we can do this, and it's good to get our name out there. It's good to have essentially an ancillary business that we can develop alongside our current one. It's really healthy for our portfolio. It gives us the opportunity to talk to a lot of sponsors and make connections we otherwise wouldn't have done. So I think that's the combination of reasons, and it really does come down to just how much fun it was to bring a player over and see him compete and just be really passionate and happy about everything he was doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, can we do that again? Can we do that for more players? And can we make it into a business? And the answer to all of those questions was, yeah, we can. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I remember hearing Jenna either seeing it on Twitter or, gosh, I can't even remember now, but I remember a quote from her basically saying that this was the most rewarding thing that she's done in, I guess, her career. Just whatever businesses you guys have been doing. So
it's an emotional industry.
Mm-hmm.
If you're into StarCraft, if you're into eSports, if you're into any sport, you understand the emotion and passion that goes into competitive anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like there's a reason so many people want to be a part of that with real sports, and it's exactly the same principle in esports.
Okay, well, thanks for the caller. I guess he logged off. That's the first time the callers actually have been hanging up, and after they've asked the question.
He just wants to be like, you can't fire me, I quit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't cut me off, damn it.
Chanman, worst host in the world.
Do you want me to ask? Do you want me to ask one of these questions that we had in Skype?
Okay, last one. Yeah, this is
Okay.
Or I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can take a call and then we'll finish it up.
No, I think we're done with callers. Why don't we just finish it up with this?
Okay. The one of the first ones was, do you have any? This comes from I can't remember. Darrell THXO, something like that. Any plans to expand this to other games? So I know you've said you're going to stick with 6 in your StarCraft team, but have you thought? Has there been any thought of, sponsoring a League of Legends or a Dota 2 team?
I think it would have to. I think it would have to be a game that I care about, and League is not one of those games. I used to play a lot of League, but I've never cared about the League competitive scene. I hate watching it. I really do. I'll play that game, no problem. Right now, I'm playing Dota 2, and I'm actually having more fun with it. It took me a long time to kind of reach that conclusion, because League's got a lot of stuff that makes the game really fun. And Dota is definitely a different style, even though obviously League was built on the basis of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have to be really passionate and into that game, and also see long term. Because I could throw money at a Counter-Strike team or anything like that, and that would be okay. But do I really know that the Counter-Strike team is going to be viable? Anything along those lines? And do I want to do a League team? Well, it sounds okay for profit, but think about everyone's doing that right now. Because there's a lot of money in League, everyone is getting a League team. And honestly, it's like, yeah, we can get loads of money from this. No, it's hyper competitive. No, you can't. You've got to be super good at this. And not to mention the fact you've got to house and pay 5 people, right? So it's much more difficult to deal with that kind of team dynamic.
Y'all's video's frozen for some reason. Both of y'all's.
Yeah, I guess that happens one way or the other.
Yeah. Is it frozen on y'all's end too?
Apparently it is. Let me turn mine off.
Yeah,
and on.
just restart it real quick. John, you too. Just restart it real fast.
Yep. Oh, it actually won't let me turn mine back on.
Really?
It's hateful. It's hating, man. I don't know what's going on with this. Yep, it's not going to let me turn that back on. So you might want to. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Skype. Hammered it a few times. There we go.
Well, I turned mine off now.
Yeah, we'll get that back in a second.
Yeah. We'll flip it back in a second, but
that's cool. Yeah. Anyway, it's not something we're really considering right now. It's not really part of the plan. I want to see if I can run one esports team first for one game. Not even worry about the others right now, and keep an eye on where the esports language and where the esports overall ecosystem is actually going. Is it working? Is it going to continue to work over the long term? And then we'll think about other teams.
It's an order of magnitude bigger, right? I mean, if you add another game, it's
you've got
that much more
sorts of things.
Exactly.
I think a small team works better.
Well, mastering this game, and managing a team in this game, and then maybe replicating it into another game. I think is the right. I feel like that's the right process too.
Yeah, and at the end, sorry, John. Go ahead.
Well, that goes into the next question too, and coming from Cypher SC is this a side project? And when the money goes back from the tournaments that you're creating, when the money goes back into the team and so on, he's asking, once it stops supporting, will it disband? Will you just be done with Axiom?
No, it won't, because we never started Axiom with a view to making a profit. We just happen to have pulled it off fairly well thus far. We're still making a loss on Axiom. I mean, obviously, but it's the gambling thing, right? Never gamble with money you can't afford to lose. That's what Axiom is to us. And at the end of the day, that's money that would have been sunk into something else anyway. Probably most of it would have gone to the government in taxes, right?
Loss leader.
So, it kind of is. I mean, well, pretty much most esports teams are doing that to some degree. Yeah. We had a lot of esports teams that were based on venture capital, or that were just investors that weren't really looking for a return in the short term. It's like maybe in 3 or 4 years I make a return on this, right? And this is kind of the same attitude we took with Axiom. And it was money that we could dispose of and not feel bad about doing. It's still a significant chunk of money, but we can still do it. So I think that the ideal scenario is we make a team that actually turns a profit, but we don't shoot for that. We just say we would be happy with even just breaking even, which is actually, looking at our finances right now, is looking totally doable. We just get line up a few decent sized sponsors and we could totally break even. And then we can even think about making a profit. So it is a side project for me, but then again, I'm just the promoter and I'm just the sponsor, right? I'm just the marketing guy for the team. For Jen, it's a full-time job that she's very passionate about, and she will do everything in her power to make this into a business that generates profit in the long term. And if it doesn't really matter, because it's still fun. And it's the attitude I've taken to StarCraft from the very start. Every time I go to a StarCraft tournament, I lose money because I don't get paid enough by the tournament to replace the video content that I otherwise would have been able to make at home, right? There's gaps on the channel. So,
but there's marketing involved in that too. I mean,
there is
getting FaceTime and that stuff. I mean,
but I'm marketing to people that already know who I am. So it's like preaching to the choir, right?
Sure.
So
unless you're doing FPS, which you did.
Unless
for me
I'm doing
once,
FPS,
which
yes,
was
I
awesome.
did. Yeah. In which case, I did. Basically, the answer to all of this is I need to do more Quake.
Yes, absolutely.
That. Yeah, but the kind of passion project attitude is the same with Axiom that it is with casting StarCraft. I don't go into it with a view of making a lot of money. In fact, it's actually quite the opposite. But I'm in a comfortable enough position where I can afford to do the stuff that I want to do with my life, and I'm very fortunate to be able to do that. And damn right, I'm going to make the most of it.
And you're hopeful to make a lot of money, though, right?
Yeah, eventually. How great would that be, right? StarCraft explodes, the Heart of the Swarm, continues with Legacy of the Void. I bring in big sponsors. I've got freaking Ford sponsoring me or something like that,
There you go. I just want to make sure, it's like, the last thing we want is just people doing it again, just for, just for
I already made that mistake. I already made that.
You don't do that. I will go into this with every intention to have huge sponsors and live in a house made of gold bricks.
I thought you already do, man. That little piece from the Pulse. I mean, isn't that real?
Yeah, wasn't that real?
Currently just silver bricks. It's not quite as good.
Silver bricks, buying rolls, and getting massages and
dirty eSports money, man.
Exactly. All right. Was there one more or no, John? Is that it?
No, I think that's probably it.
Okay. Well, John or TB, good stuff, man. It's always a pleasure having you on. We finally officially had you on as a guest.
Yeah, I snuck in like a couple of shows ago. It's like, you're not letting me on the show, so I'm going to take over your production right now.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing having you on, talking about a lot of stuff. I think we talked a lot of good stuff. I think there were a lot of stuff about Axiom that people didn't know about. So hopefully you guys
I'm just hoping that Jen decides not to punch me. I'm just like, stop announcing announcements. Like, it's my job. I'm the marketing dude.
John, DDoS the show, dang it. Tear it down. No. But yeah, so wonderful time. Do you have any shout outs you want to do right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of special shout outs this time around because the whole Greencard thing has gone out. So let me start off with big shout outs to David Ting of IPL, because he was instrumental in getting me the visa which got me over here in the first place, and they never asked for anything in return, and it was really amazing that they did that. So big thanks to them. Also thanks to Wolfsdorf, which is the Santa Monica based immigration lawyer who sorted all this out. They're a very professional company. They handled the whole thing extremely well, extremely efficiently, and they did a solid job of getting everything sorted out, which made the final interview go very, very easily. Obviously, gotta say big thanks to my wife, who runs the team, who essentially is responsible for my success, who pushed me into all of this YouTube stuff and has consistently made the right decisions and the right calls throughout the last few years, has always been supportive and tolerant of my bullshit. So big thanks, of course, to her, of course, for sticking by me through all of this really hard and difficult times with immigration and not being able to be in the country in the first place. And of course, a big thanks to everyone that watches my content that makes all of this possible. So that's the guys over at youtube.com/CynicalBrit, the guys over watching StarCraft at youtube.com/Totalbiscuit, and my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Totalbiscuit. Guys over on the subreddit at reddit.com/r/CynicalBrit. Big thanks to them, and of course to the Game Station and Maker Studios for continuing to be very supportive and really helping us make the YouTube network a huge success. And I think that pretty much covers it. That sounds about right.
Awesome. John, got any shout-outs?
Yeah, actually.
He's gone...
Secrets.
He's gone Slender Man on us for a second there. He's kind of like blurred out.
That is unfortunate.
Okay, well, I guess I'll just wait just a second here. See if he comes back. If not, then I'll just go ahead and do shout-outs. Let me just do my shout-outs right now while we're waiting. Big shout-out to... Honestly, big shout-out to, first off, you, John, for our TB, for everything that you do for the community. And, again, like I've said it in the past, just I really, really love the way you use your platform. And it's one thing that I've kind of aspired to too, which is once I get a platform, you're just really helping out people, and doing that sort of thing. And one of the things, obviously, one of the most recent things that you did was help out Odie, with the whole situation with his house, and that's like the perfect example of really just all of us community members, helping each other out, right? And big shout out to all the guys like Husky and I know a lot of others that helped you out, in your 5-year your pursuit of this, and just helping you even emotionally through all of it, because it was really, really hard, and I can totally imagine just being crazy hard. So big thanks to just the community, and hopefully there's just more of that, more love between just all of us in the community and helping each other out, because we're trying to grow. We're all trying to do the same thing, which is grow. It
strengthens everybody.
Exactly.
It really does. Let's keep the competition friendly and the kind of thing that stimulates innovation and excellence, rather than trying to tear each other down, because it doesn't make any sense for anybody. Exactly.
And another, let's say, shout out to just all my mods, as usual, for helping out in the channel, and lots of folks today. So, big thanks for doing that. All the viewers, all the people from TV's fan base, thanks for checking out the show. Hopefully you guys will come check it out again. It's every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. it's right after the good show, so that's the best way to remember it. Tuesday is always a great day. It's like good show, us, and then ITG afterwards. So
yeah, definitely. Can I give a special anti-shout out to
sure.
Husky because he sucks? He was the traitor in Shadows of Camelot. He flat out cheated in the Chivalry tournament. He's a dick, man.
All right, I'm gonna have to link the Chivalry, the show down at the end.
He's a dick.
Watch him cheat here. Let me see, where is it?
Seriously. Next time I go back to LA, we're playing Battlestar Galactica, and I can guarantee that he's going to be the Cylon. He is going to be that damn Cylon. And he's going to screw us all over.
Damn, I don't have the link. Vice, post the link whenever you get a chance. That's the key to gaming. The key to gaming is to figure out all the shortcuts, man. that's the way.
He did, man. Like the whole flail with the left alt combination that none of us even knew that button existed.
Yeah.
Like this, what the hell is just? Yeah, I don't know. He is. You might think he's the nicest guy, but when it comes to competition, he will literally do anything necessary to destroy you.
Dude, that's awesome. That's definitely awesome. Let's see. Last thing is so speaking of t-shirts, just for you, TB, I decided to put together a Climbing the Ladder t-shirt.
Sweet.
And I actually have some made, and just I kind of want to get a feel just for like if there's any interest in it. So guys, let me know, PM me, that sort of thing, and let me know if you'd be interested in me making some of these Climbing the Ladder shirts. It's got a little it's got a Climbing the Ladder thing on the back too. See that? But
yeah, and you're gonna have to buy a lot to replace the equipment that Chanman just broke. So.
It's just my head. It's just this headset thing. Not a big deal. But let's see what else. So all the VODs past shows are on YouTube. YouTube.com/ChanmanV on my channel, and follow me on Twitter. Twitter.com/ChanmanV for any show updates for this show, Wednesday Night Sprites, and Pro Corner. And the VOD will be up. I'm going to upload the VOD immediately after, so probably give it a couple hours. I mean, the processing and all that good stuff usually takes a bit. So
sure.
If you missed any of it, check it out. Audio versions will be up too in the next 45 minutes or so. But that's going to be it, guys. Oh, next week, David Ting. Speaking of loving David Ting.
Yeah.
David Ting is going to be on next week. I mean, is that timing or what? Jeez, man. But he's going to be on to talk all about IPL 6. Lots of announcements for IPL 6. All games. So StarCraft 2, League of Legends, just everything. So he'll be on for an hour, and then I'm trying to figure out what to do with the next hour. We might just do an AMA or something like that with just the host. And so I'll let you guys know. And you just come and watch, come and participate, ask your questions as usual. But that's gonna be it this week. See you guys later. We out.